Poker players, and welcome to Super Sunday Night here on the APAT show. Tonight we're joined by our favourite Capes Crusader, UK Poker News scribe, Leeds fan and hard as nails Yorkshireman. That's right, Matt Pitt rejoins us on the virtual couch to talk all things poker, football and APAT as we look in on your squads and roller play. Right, that's enough pow, zap and kabam. Matt, Lee and myself will be right back with you guys after this. Lee, Mattman is back.
It's a long time overdue, isn't it? We've missed him on the show to catch up with Matt and find out what's been going on in the poker industry. Evening, Matt. How are you doing?
Good evening, guys. I'm just never mind what's going on. I'm loving those new graphics. Somebody's been buzzing during lockdown. All the little intro thing were fantastic.
You like that? You like that?
I love it. I'm proper loving it.
I have to tell you, listen, Matt, I mean, we had a cracking evening when we had you on before. You had a cracking game of poker. The chat just flowed for the 2.5 hours, I have to say. But I was a little worried. Getting you back on this evening because I took a bit of stick, I felt. Took a bit of stick for the whole Mattman intro and the picture, right? The picture that you can see on your screen now. Lee gave me a bit of stick. He said to me afterwards, he said, Des, couldn't you do any better for an esteemed guest like Matt? So, what do you think? Was it okay to use it a second time?
It's probably the best when I've got some terrible photographs. Have you? I've got a face for radio, so
no. Well, listen, I had to think about that, and I thought, can we do any better? So let me just give this a quick try, okay, Matt? You keep an eye on those fancy graphics. Here we go.
Crying out loud.
Whoa. I just get. What do you mean for crying out loud? I tried. What? You don't like Super Matt?
Matt,
come on, Matt.
What's going on there, Matt? Explain,
you don't like Super
please.
Matt?
I think that during lockdown, the first lockdown, me and the missus decided to have a pajama party in the garden.
Oh, steady.
So they were my Superman PJs.
So is this better? Are you happy with this, Matt?
Yeah, I'm happy. Yeah, that'll do.
That'll do. Come on, Matt. You're a Yorkshireman. I expect you to be a bit of a tougher audience now. I expect you to look me in the eye, sort of, on the radio, and say, "Look, Des, I'm not happy with that. I want better."
I guess you've got something else prepared.
Shall we try this? Shall we try this again? All right, let's bear with me, guys. Bear with me. Let's do this again. Here we go. Big finish.
I'm worrying. We've gone from hoodie to t-shirt. Where are we going?
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Super Matt.
Jesus, that's... My abs are a little bit more cushioned than these days.
Was that now, Matt? Was that before lockdown or during lockdown? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be. Well, I don't know. I think it's before I actually woke up out of bed this morning. To be honest, dreaming.
I'll tell you what, Matt. When I finished that little bit of artwork earlier on today, I had a look and I thought, yeah, I would. Yeah.
Well, it's seamless, that Photoshop there. You see.
Well, we got a white head on a slightly darker body, I have to say. So not exactly seamless, but it's okay. It's better than that one, right?
I mean, Matt, I don't want to scare you, but I mean, that's not Photoshop. That's Dez's personal photo collection.
That's come straight out of it's come straight out of my mind. That has. Just don't tell Sean, okay? Don't tell Sean. So, welcome to the show, Super Matt Pitt.
Fantastic. That's going to be my new name now. I'm gonna make the kids call me it.
I have to say, Matt, if you come on for a third time, and touch wood, you will. Hopefully lockdown will disappear and we'll do less of these shows. But if you do come on for a third time, I'm not sure where I can go to after this. But give me the opportunity. I'm here to try.
I'm pretty sure I might end up blocking you after this, to be fair, just in case.
Brilliant. Well, listen, let's go to the chat box. Let's see who we've got in there. So. Again, the tech guys, I've put this on pretty late, given that we're not scheduled, but I can tell that Gareth Howard is there with us and says, howdy you all. So howdy to you, Gaz. Tomo is there. Brendan Byrne is there. How come Brendan Byrne isn't on the final table here, Lee? What's that all about?
It's unusual, isn't it?
That is unusual.
3 out of 3, so this is the first time for a month.
Yeah. Peter Wigglesworth is there and says, Superman pants. And I have to say, I don't think, let's just take this off, I don't think that outfit got enough appreciation.
I should have worn them. If I know you're going to do that, I'd have put them on for tonight, to be fair.
Well, I feel a bit let down because I know the last time we spoke, you were talking about you were wearing a monocle and a cape.
Yeah.
I remember that.
We've got to keep the look fresh, you see. You've got to keep up with the young ones.
Absolutely. So hello to everybody in the chat box. We will come back to you guys through the evening. Lee, what are these good people playing tonight?
Yeah, so it's, I keep saying it, it's a Sunday night, so it's the usual stuff. Well, it is kind of the usual stuff. So it's a Sunday roller, which we'll focus on because we've hit the final table there. Shirley Cole has already busted the aces of Dean Pearson on this final table. Shirley, honest, with 6-4, Des. 6-4.
That's a good holding.
She said she wanted to see a flop, and the 6 and the 4 on the flop were nice for her, and it held. So Dean departed in 8th place. So it's a Sunday roller. Started with 46 runners, just shy of $1,500 in the prize pool, just over $500 up top for the winner, which is always very nice on a Sunday night. Hopefully, one or two of these guys have got in for the $3.30 during the week, and it's the culmination of the Sunday deep stack. Des, news on the squads. ABCD are back. The Chillmaids, Tom Clark and Vince, are back playing again, and they are currently top of the leaderboard going into the final game tonight. 75 runners in that. We're playing top 10. We'll keep you a bridge of everything that's going on there. Tom Clark is currently top of the MVP for that. He's got a bit of a lead, to be honest, but what do I always say on a Sunday night, Des?
Absolutely. You just can't call it, Lee, right? It always goes down to the final table and beyond.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Okay, so a lot to look forward to from a poker point of view. Now, Lee, I've got a bit of a scandal for you. Well, it's not really a scandal. It's a good old yarn. We had Bromers on last Sunday night. Natalie, I don't know if she's in the chat box, but we had Natalie on last Sunday night. She told us about a famous guest that she's coming on to her football podcast with regards to Burnley in the coming weeks. Right? You know who it was, Mr. Spin.
I think she might have done I'm trying to think whether she was doing the interview Tuesday just gone or the Tuesday coming. I'm not sure. She might have done the interview. I'm not sure.
Well, Alistair Campbell, right? So the number one spin doctor of years of old is on Natalie Bromley's podcast in the coming days, weeks, whatever it may be. But we talked a little bit about the fact that she'd had this Radio 1 DJ, Jordan North, on a couple of weeks earlier, and it was a great interview. It was a wonderful interview. So the bloke's only just turned up on I'm a Celebrity. Get me out of here tonight. How cool is that?
What's funny is I saw it was a Radio 1 DJ. We just happened to watch the beginning of it. Don't really normally watch it, and it was on. And so Radio 1 didn't really pay attention to the name, but now you said it, that all makes sense.
He's the one. Yeah. So the Burnley guy, Burnley fan through and through, had a great interview with Natalie a couple of weeks back. It's on her page. Go and check that out. But he's only turned up on I'm a Celeb, Get Me Out of Here, and he's managed to puke his guts up in the first 15 minutes of the show.
Really?
Yeah, they showed the projectile. It was amazing TV. So yeah, welcome to
nice.
prime
Okay.
time, sir.
I thought you were going to say welcome to Wales, but
Well, okay. He did puke on Wales. He puked on a beautiful part of Wales. The people of Wales won't take that as a personal slur.
Are they only doing it in Wales because Wales is no longer in lockdown? Is that the reason why, or
I don't know.
Was it planned for a while? Honestly?
It's mostly because I guess you don't have to sit in a tube for 24 odd hours and get all the way to the other side of the world, given everything that's going on. That might be part of it. But I have to say, I wasn't familiar with that castle. And I don't typically watch this programme, but I get a sense that I might watch a bit of it this year because the whole sort of, the countryside up there is absolutely gorgeous. Castle looked amazing.
It's similar to, I mean, some nice stuff up near you, actually, isn't there, Matt, to be honest? You've got a nice part there, part of the countryside up Yorkshire.
Yorkshire is a lovely part of Wales.
No, definitely not.
Not as many sheep.
Not as many sheep, and for good reason. So how is everything with you, Matt? How is lockdown going? How is work going? You're busy, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's similar to the last lockdown. Obviously, there's a lot more people playing online. A lot of poker sites are throwing little festivals here, there, and everywhere. So it's keeping kids off of beans on toast for the time being.
Oh,
so,
bless.
But yeah, just plodding along. Basically, you just got to make it fit what you can, don't you? Really?
Yeah. Well, listen, plodding is good. Plodding is good. Sometimes it's about getting from A to B, and you do whatever you have to do to get to B, and hopefully B is not too far away, and hopefully it will see some better times coming back to us. But it's nice to have something to do, keep you busy, if nothing else. And tell me, Matt, in terms of everything poker-wise, or a large part of everything poker-wise being online, has that sort of impacted the amount of stuff that you're doing? I mean, you were largely, you weren't going to poker tourneys. You haven't been doing that for a couple of years now. So, touch wood, it hasn't sort of negatively impacted your job, the amount of stuff that has been cancelled live.
No, well, like I said, I kind of retired from the live reporting side of things a couple of years back. But it's the live reporting guys who obviously they're the ones who've been struggling for work. But thankfully, people like PokerStars they've been doing live reporting on their EPT online and GG Poker. They've got a high roller week that comes to an end today. I think it ends. They've had a couple of their biggest events live reporting, so those guys are still getting work put their way as well, which is a positive for everyone. Yeah.
And tell me, huge news, absolutely huge news this week, that the World Series of Poker are going to run some sort of hybrid main event, right? So it's not the main event as we know it, and it's good that they're doing something, but that's what this is. This is something. It's not the main event, is it?
No, it's definitely not. I think, if I'm perfectly honest, I think it's a little bit irresponsible in today's climate to get people jetting all around, flying over to Vegas in next 6 weeks.
So, just break it down for us, Matt. What is their plan?
Basically, they're going to run what they're calling a domestic WSOP main event and an international one. So, domestic one's based in the US. You can only play if you're in Nevada or New Jersey.
Yeah.
And they're going to play down to the final table in that one, and then they're going to have a live final table at the Rio.
Right, so they're playing it online up to the final table.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the Rio's still closed, but obviously they must be planning on opening it again. Yeah. And then the international one's taking place on GG Poker, and they're going to do the same there, play down to the final table over a couple of days, and then play the live final at King's Casino in Rosvedov.
Okay, so they'll have two live finals with the winners of each going heads up?
Yeah, the champion of each of the main events flies out to Vegas on, I think it says December 30th, if memory serves me. And it's a $1 million winner takes all heads up match, and whoever wins that gets a custom bracelet and the title of world champion, which I think it's that bit that's grating on me a little bit.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, it's funny enough, when I heard this, I thought, that's not a main event. But it did feel like something that could that could in its own right be interesting. I mean, it could almost be a Ryder Cup style, Europe or America versus the rest of the world. Call it what you will. That in itself could have been interesting. It could have created its own buzz. But calling it the main event, it just seems a bit odd.
Well, I think one of the most awkward things I saw was yesterday on Twitter. So the chap that won what we all thought was the main event during the summer, Stoyan Madanziev. Am I pronouncing that right, Matt? How am I doing there?
I just call him the Bulgarian dude.
Yeah, that works really well. So he tweeted, so if I won the 51st annual World Series of Poker main event, what will the December one be? The 52nd, 51.1?
No way. Did he say that?
51.20, 51. Yeah, just wondering. And then he also added a picture of his bracelet with a little certificate that he got sent saying, congratulations on winning, the World Series event number 77, with his bracelet signed by Daniel Negreanu. And, yeah.
But was it labeled as the main event, Lee?
Well, yes, it was. It was called WSOP Event 77, $5,000 no limit hold'em main event of the 51st annual World Series of Poker hosted on GG Poker.
Well, I'd say that was detail. Wouldn't you? I mean, that's a problem. That is a problem.
Which it's just a bit awkward, isn't it, Matt? Really? I mean, that's ultimately, I think them putting something else on, although some people have said feels a bit like a money grab, feels a little bit, like they're just looking to, try and squeeze a bit more at people. But actually, the concept's great, but ultimately, I think everybody would have said what happened in the summer, as far as they were concerned, was the main event winner for this year, in the weird year that it was.
Yeah, I think the thing that's quite funny is Ty Stewart, who's I think he's the communications director for WSOP. His quote that he gives to Poker News is something like, "Poker needs a champion. We need to pay homage to its history, and it's important." Well, you're kind of trying to rewrite the history of this summer, because, like you said, the guy who's going to, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's quite disappointing to become world champion, and then something that's like an accolade you keep for at least a year, but he's not even going to have it for 3-4 months, unless he does the unthinkable, and obviously
repeats
manages to bink this one as well. But
oh man,
I just find it a little bit, I don't know. Like you say, it's a good concept. Maybe they should have done it as just like an event for next year, not call it the main event. Like you say, I'd like a little hybrid Europe versus the USA.
It could be an annual thing. I mean, it could be an annual thing in a separate point. It doesn't have to be. I'm just laughing, guys. You'll love this. On the little certificate he gets, it says, in addition, the World Series of Poker and GG Poker have upgraded you to diamond status at all Caesars Entertainment properties. Like, great.
Yeah. Just for the next 6 months. Unlucky, son.
Yeah,
I tell you what, the one thing that I saw in that press release that really did excite me, right, which is odd, right, because I'm at that stage in my life now where it takes a lot. But oddly enough, the thought of a sort of a competitive heads-up battle for a chunk of change on December the 30th, that I quite liked the thought of that, because I always seem to be working around World Series of Poker and stuff like that. So never really get the chance to enjoy it. But actually the thought of having a big old, televised live heads-up battle on December the 30th, that could be nice. I mean, the turkey should be finished around then, so that's the time for poker, right?
It is, but who's going to get to go there?
I don't think anybody's going. Anybody's going.
I think if you're playing heads up for $1 million, you'd like to think, you'd want one of the famous mothership rails, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Make no mistake, this is a made-for-TV event, right? This is to give ESPN something. And, and it might very well be that the World Series of Poker, who had, before they announced the online World Series of Poker in summer, they had, in fairness, sort of talked about, maybe later in the year we'll do something. So that had been a suggestion. And while that was never, discussed again, arguably it was never also taken off the table. So there was a little bit of speculation that maybe the main event might occur. And I guess with things getting worse as opposed to better, this is the only way they could do it. but does feel to me as if they're meeting a contractual need with ESPN, or they're looking to make a bit of rake late in the day, or create a bit of buzz late in the day. It does feel much more like that than it does a main event. Have you spoken to any players or any of your network over the last few days, Matt? Have you had any sense, from the community as to whether any of the normals will sort of play this and take it seriously?
Just looking through Twitter, really. I mean, I only go on 2+2 once every couple of weeks now because it just winds me up. I'm saying I'm at that age where everything's starting to get on my nerves. But it's a very Marmite tournament in that people either think, oh yeah, this is a great idea, it's a brilliant way to end the year, or other ones are just like going, well, it's like you said, it's a potential money grab because they're not going to make an absolute shed load of money out of this, especially if they're putting $1 million into that heads up. Because even if they've got 10,000 people overall, which they'll probably, I think it works out $3 million. If we just with rake, and then obviously they're probably going to have to subsidise rooms and all that lot. So like you say, I think.
Are they guaranteeing $1 million or are they adding $1 million?
No, they're adding $1 million for the heads up, definitely.
Yes,
wow, that seems odd. I mean, that's a lot.
There's no guarantee on the actual main event yet, because obviously I think they'll probably just be talking about them at the moment. But yeah, they're adding $1 million to that heads up, domestic.
It's really weird because it's going to be two players that are going to have just won a significant sum of money for winning either effectively the domestic or the international version of this, whichever one it's going to be. Yeah. So they're already going to have a decent chunk. $1 million does seem a crazy amount. You'd have thought if they took $500,000 out of each of the prize pools and kind of left it to play for, in the final heads up thing or something like that would make sense. But to just add $1 million on,
if I was
feels like it's going to the wrong people a little bit.
Well, if I was a betting man, and I'm not really, I'd be tempted to speculate that maybe that money is coming from GG to, big up, create some buzz around a big online event in December. Because at the end of the day, if there's $1 million added to the heads up, effectively that's $1 million added to both of those national tournaments. Because if you get down to that heads up battle, you're playing for it, right? So yeah, it might be another bit of a land grab by GG. Who knows?
Yes, I think they probably made quite a lot of money during World Series. Everything seemed to smash guarantees out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
And obviously, I don't know ins and outs, but I dare say WSOP got a percentage, for lending them their name and whatnot. So WSOP have done quite well out of that as well, because they would have had 20,000 dealers and floor staff to pay out.
Yeah.
So it's probably a combination of both, really.
Well, listen, you guys out in the chat box, I do want to hear from you on this. So I'm not sure what the buy-in. Do we know what the buy-in will be for those online?
It's $10,000. So it's the full $10,000. Yeah.
All right. So there's going to be a bunch of satellites, right? There is no question. But would you play this event? Would you play a $100 satellite to try and get into a $10,000 sort of buy-in event for a chance at winning the World Series of Poker main event with $1 million added in Vegas? Would you jump through all of those hoops in December? Would love to hear. Let us know.
Be interesting to see. So the international one has got 3 day ones. So the 29th of November, 5th and 6th of December. Interestingly, the domestic one, or the US one, effectively, it's just 1 day one. It's a 2 day tournament, plays on the Sunday and the Monday, 13th and 14th of December. That's it. But they've not mentioned guarantees. Or not that I can see on the press release anyway. So
I don't think there's no guarantees, but I think the domestic one in the US during the summer, their main event didn't have the name main event in, but that's basically what it was. It was $3,200, so a 10K buy-in over there is going to be for online. It might even be. I don't even know if it be first one of that size.
I mean, can you see some of them drive in to sit in a car park outside wherever, so they can sit and play it on their laptop with a $10,000 buy-in? I don't know. It's I suppose if you can only play in a couple of states, you're going to have to probably make some plans, aren't you?
Well, yeah, definitely. Yeah, you've got to actually be physically located inside Vegas or Nevada or New Jersey to be able to play. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it does some magic with geotagging and all that lot.
Yeah.
So
Well, we'll have to wait and see. I suppose. Do we know, in fact, are ESPN going to be showing those final tables of the domestic events?
it does say that the will be the live final tables are going to be filmed.
That's awesome. Okay.
So I
See
think
It'll be
it
great.
plays
It'll be
out.
great telly. I think it'll make
Yeah.
really good TV. I really do.
And I have to say, I mean, a summer without the World Series of Poker, without seeing some of those broadcasts, definitely left a big hole in, certainly my poker interest this year. The World Series of Poker is essential, particularly the main event. So this is not going to replace it. It just doesn't feel like it, but it's something, and something maybe is better than nothing at the moment. So how are we doing in this roller final, Lee?
We've made the money. So unfortunately, Linda Iwaniak was the unfortunately bubble player tonight
Linda.
in this. So we've got 6 remaining. They are all in the money. Shirley Cole's currently chip leader, closely followed by Tim Magnus. Matty Ogilvie from Canada is in third at the moment. So yeah, they're all still playing out. So Matt, who would you, of the online providers? Obviously, it's been a crazy summer. Who would you say came out best from the lockdown summer?
I think they've all done pretty well, judging by the financials that people have. So I keep an eye on, like the ones that are listed on stock market, and everyone's put out some pretty impressive figures, considering people are locked up, banged up at home, and a lot of people have lost jobs or they're on 80% wages and things like that. But yeah, I don't think any of them. I mean, obviously the WSOP online was hugely successful for GG Poker. They got themselves into Guinness Book of Records as well, which is a nice little brag.
Nice.
For the people involved there. But I think it's all going well. 'Cause like the Party Poker, the World Poker Tour thing they did, I think that went down really, really well. And obviously No Stars are doing their EPT, which I was really looking forward to, but I don't know. There doesn't seem to have been much. I'm trying to think of the right word for it. Much furore about it. It just seems to have gone on.
It just seems to have happened.
Yeah, well,
that's the way it's felt.
That was trouble with the actual EPT in the live thing. It was just such a well-oiled machine. That's what it was. You turned up, everything ran smoothly. Somebody won 800 grand, and everybody went home. And I think that's kind of why they kind of reduced it quite a lot, because it was just getting people just doing it just for the sake of doing it. It wasn't exciting anymore.
Well, this is the trouble. It feels with a lot of it. I mean, certainly, I think a lot of the high roller stuff now. It's just like there's another high roller series, and somebody's won a 6-figure or 7-figure amount of money. It's like, for me as an amateur player, it doesn't really interest me. It's not a concept or something that I necessarily would want to tune in and watch. I got a little bit excited about what happened last night on Twitch, which Party Poker running the kind of
raid,
bringing all
the big deal,
the big deal,
bringing all these Twitch streamers together. But again, actually, it was a Saturday night, and by the time I'd kind of sat with Jen, had some dinner, I forgot all about it. And they actually only promoted it, I think, within about 3 or 4. I only heard about it sort of 3 or 4 days before. The concept sounded great, and it's something different. I guess it's just poker's just become a kind of it's on to the next big thing, and obviously Party have got now running, the Caribbean poker party at the moment. The first day one for that's running tonight. What's that? 5 million guarantee. They've currently made nearly 2.3 million on the day 1A. But I don't know. It just a lot of it seems to just pass me by, Matt. I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, when I first started doing the reporting on live tournaments, obviously the EPTs were 5K or 5,300. And then they'd have the odd 10,300, and if they were feeling particularly frisky that tournament, the festival would do a 25K. There's 10Ks running every single day online now. It's nothing really new, and when they put out like a 100K or like a 200K tournament, it's just the same 10 people who enter, so it kind of gets a little bit it loses its pizzazz, if you like. And as much as it's brilliant to see someone win like £800,000, it's sat there clicking buttons in their underpants. It comes a bit boring when it happens once every couple of weeks or 2 or 3 times a month. Loses its shine a little.
For you reporting on those type of things, Matt, when they're big numbers, but it must be quite tough to get too excited about it, because as you say, it's just, well, there was one of those a week ago, or there was one of those a month ago, and if it's the same small number, because there can only be so many poker players on the planet that can actually a bankroll to be wanting to sit down playing anything above 25,000 buy-ins on a regular basis. Surely, I don't know how many players there would be in that player pool, but to me, it doesn't. I'm guessing it's not many.
No, I think even if you went even lower than that, I think there'll be a lot of people out there who aren't even bankroll for the 5Ks. Sure. Probably not even the 1Ks. There's that many of them going around now. Because if you think the old bankroll management, whether say 100 buy-ins or 200 buy-ins, you're talking ridiculous sums of money, aren't you? That you've got to have available to play these properly bankrolled. I mean, obviously, a lot of people are staked, aren't they, and things like that. But it just doesn't. It seems to have lost some of its magic when it's all the time. If they did World Series of Poker 6 times a year, you'd get fed up with that as well, wouldn't you? Really?
Yeah. No, absolutely, completely true. And I see we've got Rob Needham is in the chat box, and he said it did seem like the big deal came out of nowhere a little, which, to be honest, is true. It did. I mean, it just popped up. It seems half a week prior to it going live. I think it's a great idea, though. And I hope they do one again. I wonder how it worked from an audience sharing point of view. Because, of course, the theory was if you knocked somebody out, then you were effectively raiding their audience. So if they had, 90 people watching their Twitch stream, those 90 people would go and watch you as the person who knocked out their favorite, as it were. So I just wonder whether, many of the viewers actually did that in the first place. And secondly, whether in fact many, if any, of those viewers would go back to look at some of the streamers that they might have ended up looking at on Saturday night. That would be interesting to know.
I think when you raid viewers, I think it's a forced thing. Which means obviously they can switch off straight away if they want to, but ultimately you push them to another channel is, I think, how the concept of it works.
Got it. Okay.
What I think was the interesting thing was the was the production that was done by Party and was hosted by who was their host?
Joe Ingram.
Yeah, that was it. Joey and
Maria Ho.
And Maria Ho wasn't, and that they were able to flick between streamers during hands to see what they were talking about. And I would imagine that would be quite an impressive visual thing to watch and to get an understanding of what's going on, especially if 2 players are heads up. Obviously, they're all on the same delay, so there's no issue about what they say. It's it was on a 4-minute delay or something like that. So they were all on the same delay, so ultimately they could do that. And that's great. I mean, from a production point of view, that's something different again, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, I actually penciled in to actually watch it, but then children got in the way, so we didn't get to watch it. I think it started at like 5 p.m. or something like that on Saturday, which is a bit of a bad time to actually do anything other than be a dad, I guess. So
that's true.
It is a really good concept. I mean, I think if it's introducing people to poker, then it can't be a bad thing, It just depends on how many of these people are actually going to, sign up and actually start playing. Yeah. It's okay watching it on a stream, but then actually getting them to actually, if you like, monetize that stream by coming into party and playing. I think that's a big hurdle.
This is what we've got to do. I mean, we've discussed numerous times on different episodes of The Orbit with different people about how do you bring people into the game and what works and what's a good ambassador for the game. How does it work? I suppose the flip side, something else I saw this week was, there was rumor that Lewis Hamilton jumped into some of the GG Poker high roller stuff, or as a guest, maybe for one of the games. It wasn't, but again, that's interesting, isn't it? So you've got an absolute top end, high profile sports star, current, so not someone that's, retired, is in just decided to play a bit of poker.
I can only imagine how much that cost him.
Well, do you reckon? Or do you reckon he's because I guess it's a time thing, isn't it? I mean, does somebody like Lewis Hamilton have, I don't know how long a high roller, probably what we took in anything between 10 hours, something like that to play out, maybe?
It didn't last very long.
No, and to be honest, he wouldn't in a high roller. You've just got to be of a particular quality to be able to get through a field like that, I think, in particular. But good to see him there, and it created a bit of a buzz in the media, and I guess that is ultimately what might bring some of the new folks out. You've seen our new little show, The Orbit, Matt.
Yeah, I've seen bits of 3 or 4. Yeah,
I'm going to run our little promo again, Lee. We ran this last week, but this is for the current episode.
Welcome to episode number 5 of The Orbit. My name is Robbie Straczynski, and I'll be your host and moderator for the show, which is being recorded on October 28th, 2020. Our aim here at The Orbit is to bring together some of poker's leading voices to share their views and have a thought-provoking roundtable discussion about some of the burning issues in our industry. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce this episode's panelists. In seat 1, we've got Toby Bentel. Toby is the CEO of the Flutter-owned OddsChecker Global Media, which is the parent company of Poker News, the world's #1 poker media site. He's also been a recreational poker player, both live and online, for almost 20 years. Toby, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
In seat 2, we have Tony G., a former member of the European Parliament. Tony has been a successful businessman and philanthropist for over 2 decades. Tony is also one of the world's most entertaining TV poker personalities, who, with over $7.2 million in tournament earnings, is #1 on Lithuania's all-time money list. Tony, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
In seat 3, we have Kristen Bicknell, a 3-time World Series of Poker bracelet winner. Kristen has been the top-ranked female poker player by the Global Poker Index for the past 3 years. A crusher at both live and online felt with $11 million in combined earnings, Kristen has been an ambassador for Party Poker since 2017. Kristen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And finally, in seat 4, we have Adam Pliska. For over a decade, Adam has been at the helm as president of the World Poker Tour, the premier name in internationally televised gaming and entertainment, which has produced 18 seasons of stellar poker programming broadcast all over the world. Adam, welcome to the show.
Nice to be here.
So there you go, guys. That's the Orbit episode 5. Little bit of the old and the new of Poker News there, Matt.
Yes, I've only ever. Well, I haven't really had much to do with Tony, because obviously he's the CEO of OddsChecker, which is basically Poker News' parent company.
Yes.
But we're part of a group on the software. I don't know if you've used it before, called Slack.
It's Slack very well. Yeah.
So there's a big channel in there, and there's a lot of. It sounds really cheesy, but they're all about their employees and the people.
Yeah.
So it's like they do all these little meetings that they have on a Tuesday where Tony does like an update of everything. You can pitch questions to him, and he makes sure he answers you and gets back. And then they do like a mental health well-being thing, and they do like, I'm sure they did like an online yoga thing or something other week, and they're having an online Christmas party. So they've been really good during obviously these dodgy times with COVID going around.
It's nice to have.
Amazing stat about the Orbit is 70% of guests open up with "Thanks for having me."
I was just thinking, I chuckled when Kristen says "Thanks for having me." I thought, Adam's going to say it the same.
We've yet to get the full house on any one episode. But obviously, yeah, we are hoping at some point, Matt, we might be able to talk you into making an appearance. Unless you're going to have to come up with something different when you get an introduction. That's all.
He'll have to come like, "Hey, by gum."
Yeah, do that. I think we had Rob on a couple of episodes ago, and I can't recall who was in the one seat, but that person, had a nice warm sort of hello or whatever it was, and it came to Rob, and Robbie Straczynski, of course, asks so nicely, he does the intro and what have you, and Rob just went like, "Hi," or something. It was very short. It was very curt.
That was it. He literally looked up and just went hi. Yeah.
It's like there was silence. It's hilarious.
It's a good concept, this Orbit, though. I've seen, like I say, I've seen bits of them, and some big names going, that he's getting on there. It's somewhat different anyway.
Yeah, they're long, aren't they? I mean, that's the thing that I think we've toiled most with, Lee. I think it's fair to say that the fact that, if you get these big names onto a round table, do you keep it short to 40, 45 minutes, or do you actually take value from the fact that you've got them there and actually do an hour and a half plus? And we've gone to an hour and 50, I think, on one show. So they're a long sit through, but actually, if you get engaged with them, they're pretty good, I think.
It's very difficult though, Matt. I mean, you must know from your interviewing times with people, if you're interviewing somebody and they're chatty and they're wanting to talk about things and it's interesting, I guess there's a certain point you might have said to them, "Oh, can you spare me half an hour and we can have a chat?" But ultimately, I'd imagine you've had some interviews that have gone on for significantly longer than that because they're in a chatty mood and actually it's good content that's useful for you.
Yeah, because I think obviously everyone interviews differently, but you tend to have, say, 3 or 4 questions that you want the answer. You want an answer. So for example, if you interview a winner of WSOP, the Bulgarian guy we were talking about earlier from WSOP,
Mr. Bulgaria, yeah,
Mr. Bulgaria, want you Womble?
That's called Bulgaria, yeah.
No, mate, that's just the haircut style over there. Carry on.
But if you're interviewing him, for example, you'd want to know what his feelings were on this, him basically taking his title off him. But then if you just get chatting about this, that, and other, sometimes it just flows perfectly. You don't want to cut people off in the prime, because you can end up with some really good content. Especially if someone's relaxed enough to actually sit there and talk about life outside poker, or something that you think your viewers or readers are going to be interested in. But the downside of that happening is if you've got to transcribe it, it's an absolute nightmare. Because an hour interview probably takes you about 5 or 6 hours to actually transcribe properly.
We just show the whole thing, Lee, right? We just show the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I try not. We say to the guys before we record that we're going to record it as live, unless there's a real kind of mess up or somewhere that we need to edit it out. Or there's an technical issue, we try and just go, well, it is what it is. I mean, so the episode 4, I think, where we had Daniel Negreanu.
I was just going to bring that up, Daniel's comment.
And Rob on that show. I mean, once they all started chatting.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, you just kind of let them go. I mean, it was like, how often are you going to get? I mean, and we were pretty much 2 hours. So just over 2 hours recording that, and we told them originally it'll be an hour and a quarter. And to be fair, none of them had an issue with it because they were all busy talking about stuff. But I mean, Daniel, you watched that one, Matt. I mean, Daniel came out with some interesting stuff in that show.
Yeah, interesting is one way to put it, but
yeah.
I think Poker News, I can't remember who wrote it up, but somebody basically used a lot of that content in there with Daniel saying he don't care if you use a VPN. And what about a bit strange for an online ambassador to start talking about I don't care if you cheat. Well, not cheat, but bending the rules. And it were you could probably get a couple of people caught out if they get a little bit too chatty. Yeah,
I mean, but we've always make it clear to them, and we're obviously we want to stay independent in what we do. We want them to chat, and we don't try and catch them out. Actually, I mean, we let they all know the questions before we record. Mm-hmm. It's important to us to say, we want to be open and transparent. So we let them know what we're going to discuss. Robbie might choose to put a little bit of a spin on it, and occasionally during the show we'll come back to players and to guests and come back against something they've said or push back on this or get them to comment on what somebody else has said. But more often than not, it's they can come with a sometimes with ulterior motives. I think we had Patrick Leonard on in, was it episode 1 or 2? I can't remember. Des.
2, I think.
He gave the most amazing backhanded compliment to GG Poker I think I've ever witnessed. It was really incredible, because people have obviously on the show been talking really positively about what GG have done during the summer, come from nowhere, being really innovative in what they're doing, and so you've got other brands complimenting them on what they've achieved in the summer, which I think is pretty incredible, really.
Yeah, I think with GG they've been very, very aggressive in trying to corner the high stakes market. It were always PokerStars what high stakes market. Ever since I started back like over 10 years ago, it's always been PokerStars were the place to go for the Sunday Million, and then midweek ones like Super Tuesday were always ridiculously big, and they've seemed to have dwindled off now to the point where sometimes on a Sunday some PokerStars tournaments don't even run. It's that's how crazy. Yeah. Where GG just seems to be absolutely flying with a high stakes stuff. I think the micro and low stakes schedule's kind of lacking, because I've looked through it and nothing stands out that you think, well, this is brilliant. But if they've gone for the high stake market, well, that's what they've done it very, very well, because that's the place to be now for your your $200 plus buy-in.
Do you think Stars are going to come back all guns blazing, or are they moving in different circles, or have different ambitions now as a company?
I think the problem is now that they've gone with Flutter, which is obviously what, if people don't know, it's what Betfair and Paddy Power used to be called. They make so much money elsewhere that poker's it's not insignificant, because they still make like a ridiculous amount of money from poker, but as a percentage of revenue and things like that, it's no longer the be all and end all. I mean, Betfair, I'm sure it was the match something like £500 million on the Donald Trump thing, and they took 5% of that just for having a market. Yeah. It were absolutely mental. So there's no way poker can do that. Generate them kind of figures.
To give you a sense of Flutter's scale, right? So Flutter own Paddy Power, Betfair. They recently bought the Stars Group, so PokerStars, who had not so long before bought Sky Betting and Gaming. So that's Sky Bet, but also Sky Vegas and Sky Casino. So Sky Vegas is the largest online casino operator in the UK. Sky Bet own Odds Checker, which now owns Poker News. So it's all about consolidation, right? So Flutter is the largest gaming business in the world today, and they're out there looking to crack the US market, which will make them incredibly big. But they have taken on the Stars Group, so PokerStars, and they released some numbers mid last week. But they had a big sort of annual update back in August, where they recognized that at the Stars Group, the business was only spending 14% of PokerStars' revenue on marketing. So they weren't really doing a lot to create awareness. Typically within Flutter, they would be expecting to spend at least 25%. So I think the Flutter guys have come out and said, look, the PokerStars product hasn't had any investment for quite some time. They're way underspending on marketing, and they're way underspending on player generosity, so rewards that go back to the players. And these are no secrets, right? This is what players have been saying for quite some time. The product isn't where it was, and the schedule and the value and the loyalty scheme and all of that sort of stuff isn't where Stars have been historically. So a lot of that might have been brought about by the fact that casino became a big part of the Stars story over the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years. And they've taken their eye off of the ball, which obviously is poker. If you're PokerStars, you should 90% of your thinking should be about poker. The rest should be spent on casino and sports and stuff like that. So I think Flutter have committed to reinvesting, in a very large way in PokerStars to reinvent the product, but particularly on marketing and player generosity. So I would imagine we'll start to see a bit of a PokerStars bounce back, but quite whether it's a little bit late given the inroads that GG and maybe to a lesser degree Party have taken. on their market share. Time will tell. But of course, the other thing there is that Flutter is entirely committed to operating in regulated markets. So I think some of the markets that maybe Stars have been operating in, and there aren't too many. Stars are not a GG by any means in terms of operation in grey markets, but they might lose some of the markets that they've had as a result of Flutter taking control. But yeah, I'd expect to see a little bit of a Stars bounce, I think, in the next 12 months, Matt. That would be my view.
Yeah, I think they pulled out of China, didn't they? Did Stars not long ago,
Yes.
I think, which
it's huge.
It's huge, and obviously 'cause there's over 1 billion people there, isn't there? So it's a big market to tap into. And there were rumours, I don't know if they actually did, but they were on about closing off Russia, which would be a major blow, because you look at any online, poker tournament festival, and it's just full of our little Russian cousins.
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
And then obviously other markets like Turkey and places like that, which are, the what's it called, UK Gambling Commission sees as a little bit dodgy.
Yeah.
I can't imagine they bring in a ton of revenue, but yeah, I think if there's lost somewhere like Russia, if everyone lost Russia, then that could be a game changer for everybody. But yeah, with Stars having Flutter at its back, I mean, I just looked on their, you were mentioning them figures. In the third quarter of 2020, it had 1.35 billion worth of revenue in one quarter. I mean, it's just they could just afford to do whatever they want.
Yeah, they're absolutely huge. And one thing that Toby said on the Orbit, which I thought was very smart, not rocket science by any means, but it's worth continually saying, because it's important, is that poker is very often a great acquisition route to get players into sports betting. So, you double the lifetime value of a poker player by cross-selling them into another product. And very often it's casino that companies try and cross-sell poker players into, which doesn't make a huge amount of sense because, it just doesn't. It's not a comfortable mix. But, cross-selling a poker player into a sporting event is a little more contextualized. It makes a little more sense. And with regards to the US market, it just makes sense to utilize poker as an acquisition tool. So you continue to invest in poker, you bring poker players in, and then you try and cross-sell them into sports betting. That seems to work well in a US market, 2 to 3 years down the track. So that arguably would require more states to be open and more of a federal poker scene, so much bigger liquidity than we're seeing today in the individual states. So that, again, could allow poker to continue to bounce as the pandemic has done. It's brought a lot of people back into poker. I think initiatives like, the US opening up and increasing its liquidity, I think that could help poker as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of US states at the moment that are struggling financially because they're essentially their own countries, aren't they, really,
Absolutely.
And a lot of them have, I think Ohio were one of them that's recently says that they're going to be going for online poker. And the amount of tax they can generate is, for a state that's, basically on its knees because of all global pandemic and things, any extra revenue, if you start talking to their governors and stuff saying, look, we can bring in 100, 200 million, and no doubt they'll charge these sites a huge signing on fee for the license. There's going to be a lot of them that probably you might be able to get in through the back door, rather than it taking another 3 years, just being able to jump straight in. Because I think William Hill are massive out there as well. They've done really well in the States.
Yeah, they've also just fairly recently been bought up by MGM. So that's there's it's going to be 2 or 3 Colossus players, the likes of.
Well, I was going to
MGM,
say also
William
this
Hill.
week, I don't know whether you guys saw GVC announced rebranding to
Entain. Yes.
Yeah. Now the interesting bit of that whole thing wasn't so much the change of the name, because they've come up with a cool. Just as we're watching, Matty's all in with ace-4 against Shirley.
Look at those hearts.
10. Shirley's going to need to hit.
Oof.
And unfortunately, she doesn't, so we lose Shirley in 4th place. But yeah, the interesting thing, apart from obviously coming up with a snazzy, cool name, was part of the press release there was talking about they were looking to pull out of unregulated gambling markets, and as they seek to clean up their act. And I thought, I already thought they were.
To be honestly, if you looked at those numbers, they are 99% of their revenues generated in regulated markets. So it's negligible.
It seemed a crazy headline. I think the FT picked it up as a kind of as looking to clean it there. And I thought, well, that seems absolutely crazy. It seemed an unnecessary thing to say, because yes, they might still be in the odd grey market, but actually, we've listened when we've had Rob on the Orbit. He was hammering home about regulation and how it's such a nightmare for an organization like Party Poker, because they can't go into markets that some others are prepared to go and play in. It's difficult.
Yeah, because I think Party pulled out of like Thailand and places like that beginning of last year, I think it was.
Yeah.
But they've always been quite quick to react to. I think it's because they're on, stock market. They've always, when Black Friday happened back 2006, I think when the world came crashing down, they pulled out of the US market basically overnight, whereas Pitt's PokerStars stayed there for several years.
Yeah,
it's funny, isn't it? You say when you mention Black Friday to people, the majority of the population go, "Oh, great deals! What can I get hold of?" So you say it to poker players, and it sends a shiver down the back of their spine, doesn't it? In a kind of like...
Yeah, it's been a long time. It feels like it was only like 5 or 6 minutes ago, but I'm sure it was 2006.
It was 2006. I think, was it September 2006, maybe October? And APAT, of course, launched in August of 2006. And we did a deal with PokerStars. So they were our, first and most high-profile partner, for quite a number of years. And we were dealing with, I met with the marketing director of PokerStars in Vegas at the 2005 World Series of Poker with our first discussions on APAT. Then I met with the director of marketing over here, Tamara Yanev. So they decided to take a risk on APAT, and we're very glad that they did. But within a couple of months of us getting sort of close, very close with them, this thing happened, and we were left sort of wondering for a little while what impact it was going to have. But thankfully, they decided to stay in the States, so they kept their nerve, hoovered up the market. So Party Poker were a bigger site in 2006 than PokerStars in the States and globally. But Party pulled out, lost a ton of market share. PokerStars hoovered everything up, and essentially got so large that when the FBI eventually came a-calling, PokerStars were able to, whip out their checkbook and write a sufficient enough check to be able to have all of their past sins forgiven. That was quite a game of poker at the time.
Yeah, it was crazy times, really.
Yeah, Wild West. It was absolutely Wild West stuff.
Yeah, I remember when PokerStars started buying like little local banks. And
why would they do that, Matt?
Putting little transactions through as dog food and golf supplies and all sorts to get money onto sites. Allegedly, please. Please use the word allegedly, please. Yeah, well, the old thing got brought to a conclusion, didn't it? When was it Mr. Scheinberg he went over to the States, didn't he, and held his hands up.
Yeah.
And he basically got a slap on the wrist and a little fine.
Well, it wasn't little, but they won the war. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, I think when you're a billionaire, it doesn't really.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm glad that he didn't get locked up and stuff. I've never heard a bad word said about him by absolutely anybody in industry. Everyone just loves him.
The bizarre thing is when Uega hit in 2006 and Party pulled out of the States and Star stayed. There were major instances with some UK execs who, flew to the States on business or holidays or whatever. And, one or two of them ended up in prison, for taking money out of the US at that time through their .com sites. And these were like, I would say respectable businessmen just operating in the, in the way that things were operating in the day. But Stars were lucky that I guess they had the ability to write the checks that essentially saw them, forgiven.
When he talks,
where do you think Party Poker would be now if they'd made the same decision that Stars did and has stayed put?
it'd be very interesting if you could like a slide indoors, or you mean if you could
exactly,
yeah. I think it'd be. I think we'd have a completely different outlook now, because they was hugely popular in States. Like, there were one at first sites I played on that, they used to have TV adverts all the time. I say all the time. There were always them ones, when you get the dodgy ones at 2 in the morning. They were their adverts, but yeah, I think it'd be a lot more of a level playing field these days if the party had held a nerve a little bit longer and
I think
not jumped out.
I think it might come down to resolution of full tilt. So if all three of them had been operating in the States and full tilt went under, I think it might have come down to who rescued full tilt as to who would be the global market leader today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because Stars, earned a lot of kudos with the U.S. authorities for, making right all of the creditors of Full Tilt, the players. So they probably earned a lot of, stars, if you like, no pun intended, by doing that. They didn't have to. So, if Party had been in the same position and able to do that, then, maybe Party would be the global market leader today.
But do you think if that had been similar, so you had Party and Stars, really two strong brands in play, would it be impossible for somebody like GG to have done what they did this summer?
I was just thinking that. I think if in that scenario, I don't think you'd have had Party and Stars, and you'd have had like a handful of little 888 are still being around because of their big casino. But I think the entire landscape would just be completely different. You won't have GG coming up as quick as they had, they focused on the Asian market for a long time. So obviously that's a huge market in its own right. But I think Party and Stars would have just been massively dominant, and the one of them would have probably bought GG before it became a thing known to Europeans.
Yeah, I think in fairness to GG, if PokerStars hadn't been wildly caught with their pants down, over the last couple of years, and distracted on sports and casino and stuff like that, and management changes and all of that stuff, and being bought and buying, and there's no way GG would or should have been allowed to capture the market share that they captured, this year. I mean, if Stars had had their game face on, I dare say they'd have, just been impossible to catch. But GG had done a pretty good job in doing it. Some of it, is of course taking money through unregulated markets, and unfortunately, Stars, the bigger you get, and the more acquired you become or you get listed, you just can't take that business any longer. So that would have been their barrier. But I still think they had their eye off the ball over the last year, Stars.
Yeah, the sentiment that's gone from Stars being, like you said, they got so much kudos from the Full Tilt, and then bailing out the PKR when that went belly up as well.
Yeah,
and it's just they don't have that good feeling about them anymore. It's the high stakes games, like I said, they seem to have moved. Just still get phenomenal traffic. They still, blow everybody out at water with that. But it just seems like a lot of people are just playing there because it is the biggest site, not because they actually enjoy it or they agree with the direction that the company's going in. Whereas I think people love the GG software. I think a lot of people have started coming back over to Party because, like, Rob's so transparent on social media, and they're doing a lot of these changes for MTTs where you can only re-enter once, which I think is a good idea, especially limited late registration and things like that. And so there's a lot more positive sentiment around Party and GG than there is over PokerStars right now.
I'd agree with that.
Just watching Grant Anderson go all in and gets called by Tim, and it's ace king for Tim, king 9 for Grant, which is we're heads up now. Tim Magnus against Matty Ogilvie. 2-1 chip lead for Tim, so good luck to him. Just to give you a quick update on the squads, we're down to 14 players in that. ABCD are still at the top of the leaderboard. They've got Joe and Tom still playing for them. I think there's probably 2 teams that potentially could catch them, but it's going to take take a little bit of luck to do that. Celtic Storm have still got Brian Frew and Brendan playing for them, and the Purple Ackies have still got Dylan and Andy Kingan in, but yeah, they're a little bit behind, so it would take ABCD to lose their 2 players now and the others to go on very deep runs, but obviously we'll switch over to that once we get to the conclusion of this Sunday roller between Tim and Matty, but good luck to them both.
No, absolutely. What do we have up top here, Lee?
So the guys are now guaranteed $340, and the difference is it's $510 up top, so playing for another $170 now. So yeah.
Very nice.
So I've seen you've been playing a bit more, Matt. I've seen you post up a little bit on social media. I'm gonna play this or I'm gonna play that. Well, as an amateur player, is it just a case of you find the time when you can fit in a game and it's suitable for you?
Like I touched on previously when we spoke about it, it's quite difficult to motivate yourself to play some tournaments when all you've done for the last 9 hours is write about people playing poker tournaments.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So sometimes, I mean, I played a few at Monster Series, realised that I'm extremely rusty. Because obviously it's one of those things, is poker, in the way the game's constantly evolving and whatnot.
They play different to how when I used to play, that's for sure.
Yes. Well, one of the reasons I came on tonight is because obviously last time I talked to you guys, I finished 3rd, and so I thought, all right, I'll join. I'll enter Sunday Roller, speak to you guys for a couple of hours, and win 300 quid, and that didn't work. But basically, long story short, I came 36, and it was as bad as it sounds. but no, sometimes it's finding time, and a lot of time if I don't get finished until say 7-8 o'clock or something like that, having to mix in picking kids up from school and stuff like that. By the time I've turned it off, half the time I just want to put like PlayStation on or fire up Netflix, But the couple that I've played on party have been mostly because what I said to you in last little segment was the late registration being cut down, the limited re-entries, and the structures that they've done. Even if you actually manage to final table one, you can still be in bed for midnight, 1 o'clock. Whereas when I used to play quite a lot, I had a few 5, 6 in morning finishes, and I couldn't really do that when I was like 30. Never mind now, I'm knocking on the door of the big 4-0.
I think most of their daily legends now that kind of start at 3 in the afternoon, and I think the last one you can reg for is something around 10 o'clock ish. I think pretty much the latest any of those go on to is like 1 in the morning.
Yeah,
at that point you're cashing pretty well. So you'd like to think you'd suck it up and for whatever you had the following day.
Yeah, they've had a couple of good promotions. That boosted daily legends were quite good. I got a few free tickets out of that. Where you randomly got assigned a ticket just for playing a daily legend tournament. So I played the Predator a couple of times because I think it was $22 and it had like 50k guaranteed on Sunday. And I thought, well, that's pretty big even for it. That'd be big on some, on like Stars back in the day. So I played that, and I don't think I cashed, but I got basically got a free ticket to the next one. But I've enjoyed it. Like I said, I've had a couple of deep runs. I made day 2 of one of earlier Monster Series events. One at smaller ones. I think it was only like a little $3.30 one, and came like 100 and something in that. But I enjoyed. I just know I can't stop myself from calling. I talked myself into a call. Like it happened in roller today. I just knew I would beat, and I'm like, oh yeah, but it could be bluffing here. And I'm like, no, he's not. He's got exactly what I thought he had when I first hovered over the fold button. So I think that just comes with like a bit of practice, doesn't it? I think once you get back into the swing of things, you start to realise patterns and whatnot. But yeah, I am gonna. I keep saying to myself, I am gonna play a lot more, but then it just never seems to materialise. Somebody asked for an article about something, and I end up writing that instead.
But you've nailed it though, Matt, and it's come up in a number of discussions we've had recently, and that is that poker today is competing with the PlayStation and it is competing with Netflix because people want entertainment. And it's got to compete, so it's got to be entertainment. They've got to feel it's fair and it's fun and all of that good stuff. But then at any given time, it's got to be what you want to do, as opposed to snuggling up with the latest game or the latest box set or whatever it might be. But poker is definitely competing with stuff today that it didn't have to compete with 10 years ago.
Yeah, the people you've got a lot more of everything at your fingertips now, and people want things and want that instant gratification, don't they? Which I think is why things like spins have continue to do so well. And
well, oddly enough, Lee, because it's all about entertainment, right? So Lee and I have done a very deep and thorough analysis of this, and what we found on Party Poker. So this is the big Party Poker. Since lockdown, I think performance has been very high. So it's 70-80% up, I think, since lockdown. And that's basically happened since we started the APAT show. So we think that whole entertainment thing works.
Yeah, pretty much. We're fairly convinced it's us.
It's us. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I think you've got a good claim there. To be fair.
Talking of talking of tweets that I saw this week, I saw a good one today. Toby, who we were just chatting about earlier on. Toby Benter tweeted, obviously you'll like this, Des. He said, the Queen's Gambit, but for poker, make it happen, Netflix.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So everyone's raving about the about the Queen's Gambit on Netflix. So, but they reckon, he reckons a poker version of that would be immense.
The problem with poker on TV, that's not actually real poker. I don't think I've ever seen a poker hand that's actually true to life. Like the infamous hand in Casino Royale.
I was sat in the cinema and watching it, and I called the card as it came out, and like the mate who was with was like,
you weren't alone.
You weren't alone. I was like, well, come on. It's like,
they don't ever get poker players involved, do they? To write these hands for them. But saying that, to be honest, if they followed a typical tournament or something like that, poker crowd would be bored to tears 95% at the time, wouldn't they? Or at least 80% at the time, because most people, it's usually a big fold fest.
I'll tell you
exactly.
what, I was going to
say, Gaz Howard's just messaged me asking, have JFS got a chance of second this week? Sorry, Gaz. No, you guys are all out, as are the Eat My Stack team, but they've got more points than you, and ABCD have got more points than you. So not this week, unfortunately, for you guys.
Ouch.
I hate being the bearer of bad news, but it's Gaz will tell you he should have played Monday and Tuesday, and that's the reason why they've not ended up at the top. So, but that's his own fault. It's not the first time he's done that. So
a meaningful little hand happening here, guys. Heads up. Oh, there's the call. A7 against A6. Wow. So Matt Ogilvie puts 100k into that bluffing on the river. Would a bigger bet have taken it?
No, I don't think so. I think Tim's calling that.
He likes his 7.
I think he's fairly comfortable with his 7 there, to be honest. So, and obviously Tim's now got over 3-1 chip lead here now, so he's chipping away at Matty. Yeah,
Matty's only got 11.5 big blinds now, hasn't he? He's we're looking to ship them into the middle at some point.
To be fairly sensible up to this, I have to say. It'll be interesting to see whether he does go into push mode now.
Yeah, Matty's based in Canada, so I'm not quite sure what time it'll be over there at the moment, but we've got a medal is on his way over to him as well. He picked up an APAT medal in the last weekend.
He's had a good run.
Des is still getting over how much that's going to cost us to ship it
there. That's like £4. I mean, it's unbelievable.
The weight of those medals, it's not cheap. We've had to get our own plane just to get it over there. So.
I'll tell you what, on the plus side, right, for North America, Lee, and we've said this before, and I'm just going to do this very, very briefly. Thank God, there's Donnie and Melania there on your screen.
She will not like you saying that.
Thank God Donnie and Melania are on their way out, guys. They're on their way out. There you go.
But are they? Although he has started tweeting that he's kind of like, well, maybe I need to concede here. Maybe. Yeah.
Has he? When did those tweets arrive? Because I'm sure earlier on today he was pitchforking people.
I think the other day it was a couple which were a little bit, back from what he has been saying. But
he hasn't said that he's lost, but he's kind of saying that he ain't won. It's a bit bizarre.
Yeah, it's kind of that's what I mean. It's a strange one, isn't it?
He's probably going to start saying there's a 50-second state and it's got 25 million people in it have all voted for him. The guy's an absolute clown shoe. He is. I just can't believe he stayed there without somebody bumping him off, to be fair.
But have you ever...
What's interesting is most people now, certainly, I mean, Biden seems to just have the view, he's just ignoring him. Just kind of going, okay, don't worry, I've got, come January, it'll get sorted out, not a problem. I'm going to crack on doing what I need to do. We'll just...
Listen.
You carry on, sitting in the corner doing whatever you want to tweet.
Listen, whatever they say about him, and I've said most of it, I have never seen anybody with as big a will to win as Trump. I have never seen anybody not give up on an absolute, defeat. He just won't give up. Now, maybe he's afraid of what's the other side of the defeat. Maybe he's in a lot of trouble legally, in which point, fingernails, you'll go right to the end, right? But I have never seen such a will to win anywhere, I don't think, before.
What was interesting, Matt, I don't know whether you heard the show last week, but so Natalie and Des were discussing this. So run this past people again, Des. What potentially might happen regarding pardoning and the presidency between now and January?
Well, it's just ridiculous. I mean, this would be a true, chin on the floor moment. But there's talk that he could pardon his kids. Now, quite why he'd pardon his kids, I'm not entirely sure. But, maybe there's a news story there somewhere. So he could pardon his kids. Then he could resign, let Pence take over for the last couple of weeks, and have Pence pardon him. Because presidents can pardon. But since then, Lee, I found out that, some of the more serious crimes that Trump could potentially be convicted of are state-level crimes, in which case a presidential pardon wouldn't see him off. So a state-level crime is not pardonable in that way. So who knows? Who knows? But there's so much. I mean, there's so much comic.
You do kind of get the feeling that once he does step out of the White House, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to go after him for what's gone on in the last 4 years. I don't see him being able to just, he's not just going to go, oh well, okay, I had my go. Thanks very much, everyone, and go off and play golf for the rest of his life. It feels like there are going to be people.
Yeah,
that are go after him.
There's talk that he's going to set up a completely conservative news channel. If not on satellite, then maybe digital online. And we know that sort of stuff can be massively huge. There's talk that he's going to run in 24, or maybe one of his kids will run in 24. So I don't think we're seeing the back of him if he goes. And to be honest, I'm not convinced that anybody will take him down.
I've just seen Matty Ogle be double up against.
He did,
up to 900.
I think all in on a 10-8 deuce board, and Tim was ahead, but Matty then hit his 9-9 his queen.
The old thing with Trump, it's just absolutely bizarre. It's like, how can it should have been all over when he mocked that disabled person live on telly, and it's like as soon as they didn't get rid of him, then it was like, because as much as Boris Johnson's a complete buffoon, I can't imagine him taking mickey out of disabled people,
no,
or just saying he's going to build a wall around entire UK, and it's completely bonkers.
Absolutely barking mad.
Yeah, but like I said, I think there'll be a lot of people coming after him afterwards. He's probably, to be fair, he's the kind of person though. He's going to put like prawns and stuff in curtain rails in White House everywhere. Like,
What was it? I think I said, yeah. I bet you he takes every light bulb with him.
Yeah,
just
light switches and puts some water, puts crescent loft and puts waters in and stuff. Yeah, he'll be proper pedantic little sod, won't he?
Yeah, no, it's a difficult one, but we'll say it'll be interesting. Although actually, the frightening thing is actually we're the middle of November now, so actually it's not that far away, and we've got whatever sort of Christmas celebrations or whatever in the middle of it all as well. Before you know it, we'll be round to the 20th of January, and it will all be happening, won't it? So.
Yeah, we'll miss him when he's gone, though.
Well, you did say that, didn't you? It's like
I believe it.
like,
what are we going to argue about
Twitter's,
now?
I don't think
find something.
He's not going to disappear completely. He loves Twitter, doesn't he? He's going to be.
Yeah, but he'll just become another troll at that point. I mean, there's never been anything like the president of the United States is a troll. I mean, 90% of his most recent tweets on Twitter over the last 2 weeks have had some sort of warning attached to them. I mean, that's trolling of the highest order. There has never been anything like it. And we will miss a little bit of that. But of course, that's from all the way over here. I suspect if you're living in the States, the thought of Sleepy Joe, if I can, is probably just, happy days. Just give me some stability for a little while.
I think the scary thing is that you've still got 70 million people over there that think their guy should have won.
It's scary, and them guys are all out.
And a lot of them have guns. Yeah, it does feel at some point it's gonna spark.
Quite
when that's going to be, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it might have, Lee. I'm beginning to, with every day that goes by where it hasn't sparked, I'm tempted to think that actually we're going to be okay coming out of it. That's what I think. But who knows? Be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I'm just glad we're not part of. I mean, it affects us, doesn't it? But I'm glad our politicians are kind of boring in comparison.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, talking about power and madness all rolled into one, Vince is in the chat box. He says, evening all. Evening to you, Vince. Are you
just
guys...
having a look at the MVP, and Tom Clark is still in with 9 left in the squads, as we're still watching the heads up of the roller. And, yeah, I don't think he can get caught. The only other player that could potentially have caught him would be Corey Roseby, who's new to APAT, won the PKO earlier on the week, and has played a couple of the others this week. So only just joined up with the group this week. But Tom's going to bag some more points for this top 9 finish as well. So I'm pretty sure that Mr. Clark is going to be our MVP for the week.
He's just lost a big pot against Margaret Orgill. He's down. He's good at shorter stacks now.
Yeah. So as this pot's building here with Matty's raised it up to 66k, Tim's repopped it to 180,000. Matt's made the call, so there's now 500,000 in the middle here. There's just over 2 million chips in play. So,
what's Matty's range here?
In the middle. Well,
oh
wow,
go. 2 pair.
I reckon 7.5, something like that. Yeah, just. Wow, so Tim makes a bet, instant snap call from Matt. Matt's got 2 pair, River the second pair. And Tim a top pair with a jack kicker, was in a nice spot. Interesting that Matt made the call with the pair of 5s, but
wasn't a believer.
He's got my syndrome where you just call him.
Yeah, I mean, unlucky for Tim, there's not a lot he can do, and he's actually
no.
He's done very well not to go. I'm surprised actually winning with 2 pair there. Matt didn't just reshove it, but looks like they could be. Matt's raised it here, and Tim's gone all in. Is Matt gonna try and end it here and make the call?
It's quite a big shove, isn't it?
Yeah. It's always that tricky thing when your head's up there and you're like, you're toying up with the, do I want to get it over with now and take the shot at it? But if you double him back up, it's back to even stacks again. So
them spots that Tom winning, then that's perfect if you've got a really strong hand, because you can just jam it in after you've lost quite a big pot and everyone just thinks, oh, he's tilting it off.
Yeah.
And then you flip over bullets.
Yeah, that's when you want something decent, don't you? And it's you can play, because it's just assumed that's what you're going to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Matt's made the little min and a bit raise again. And this one time Tim lets this one go. So still 9-handed in squads, so we'll keep an eye on that. Dylan Herbert's currently chip leader there. And Andy Kingan's in third. So, and the two ABCD players are currently 8th and 9th. So I might be getting my calculator out in a minute.
Bloody hell.
Seeing where we're at.
So Andy's in the chat box. He's probably going to be interested in that update, Lee.
Yeah, so we'll try and work
Tim's
out
pushed again here.
At some point, Matt is just going to say, yeah, go on, Will. Let's see if we can end it. It's difficult, as you say. You don't want to give away the chips easy, because actually, as long as Matt's not just folding every hand, and he's kind of winning the odd, even if he's winning kind of 1 in 3 or something like that, he's got a little bit of time to find the right spot to do it. Whereas Tim is, as Matt says, Tim is going to, he can just get his chips in and just go, okay, well, I'm in, so it's up to you to make the call.
And blinds only went up recently, so Matty's got time on his side on that front, and
yeah, I mean, Tim's sat on 10 bigs now, and Matty's got 30 plus.
It's his to lose now, really.
Yeah, really. And Tim's all in again. Yeah, I mean, this is just waiting for Matty to go, right, okay, yeah. And, Andy Kingan says, yeah, it says evening all. Hi, Andy, hope you're well.
Evening, Andy.
So Andy up in Liverpool, who are going to be the guinea pigs for all the vaccines and stuff, aren't they? We pretty much, that's what we've agreed to do, Liverpool. They're going to take one for the team, yeah?
I'd take it. I'd have no problem taking it.
Yeah, bring it over here. I'll have some.
Yeah, jam it in.
Yeah, Matt, not bothered at all. You'd be like, if they said we got a vaccine, it's 90%. You say that's good enough for me. Crack on, yeah.
Have you seen some of the roadside cafes we've been to?
Yeah, I'm going to say, you should see some takeaway joints I've eaten it over the years. A little bit of COVID's not going to do me any harm.
Jam it in. Do you do that with vinegar?
Yeah, I'm an oven and I want gravy. A bit of gravy.
Just lace it. It'll be fine. That'd have to be more potent to put in your veins than Dettol, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
A northern gravy. I mean, Christ, some of that stuff is thick.
You just got to shake it first. That little weird skin off that form sometimes when it goes cold.
Well, listen, shaking it is one thing, but, hanging it up on a line is another entirely. Oof.
So Tim's even shorter now, so down to 7 bigs, and it's kind of feeling now that it's getting close to Matty, and there he is. He does make the call with Jack 8 of hearts.
Oh,
Tim's
my God.
king,
Look
but
at
there's
the
hearts
hearts
out there, and the hit, and that's going to be that, I think.
Yay.
It is, and Matty's going to win the roller. $510 to him. Well played to Tim. Very unlucky with a couple of hands there on the heads up. Tim Magnus picks up $340 for his efforts, but well done to you guys. Ace has just joined us in the chat, so hi to you, Ace. So I was going to say to you, Des, there's this little conspiracy theory going on. We talk about COVID and Liverpool, but what is it with all these Liverpool players testing positive when they go on international duty? What's going on?
I couldn't possibly comment. I have to say, Salah showing up at his brother's wedding, nothing wrong with that, but not wearing a mask and dancing right up close to everybody seems a bit daft to me, given the current climate. But there you go. As one wise owl said, well, I'd rather he got COVID now and was out for 2 weeks, right? So he's only going to miss 1 game, almost rather than him play for Egypt in the internationals, possibly get injured and, maybe get COVID at a later stage. Sometimes you just got to look at, the best case. I mean, it would seem that Andy Robertson has a hamstring injury following his Scotland foray over the last couple of days. Joe Gomez obviously out for the rest of the season following his England training incident a week ago.
Is that out for the season now? Is it? If they confirm that?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely out for the season. No question. We may see him
was it
a
ACL?
match or two before the end, but no, it's not an ACL. I can't name what the injury is, but it's not an ACL. He's had an ACL before. Now, while he might be fit to play a week or two before the end of the season, I can't see it myself, you know. I mean, I think, is Klopp really going to play him in the last two fixtures and then him allowed to possibly travel off with England? I don't think so. So I think they'll put him on ice for the remainder of the season.
Does that mean you're spending in January then?
Yeah, but there's only so much you can spend, right? And right now there's no Trent, there's no Robbo, there's no Gomez, there's no Van Dijk. Fabinho's been off injured for quite some time. Matip can't string 2 games in a row. We've got 2 young lads who are about 14 and 16 in Reece Williams and Nat Phillips, who basically are looking like your A pairing for the Premier League champions. Thiago's been injured since he's come in, and everybody else, you know, from Naby Keita to Salah to I've lost count of the number of lads who've had COVID. So it has been a very rocky few weeks, I have to say, but somehow
Matt, do you want to just get your violin for him? Yeah.
I know.
I'll tell you what, though. Violin. As we lose one, let me just fix that as we get this final table up.
We just lost Tom Clark in 9th place, so we now have a final table for the squads as well. So
I was just going to say, I had a ton of fun in our first match back after the restart, as that final table is now up on screen, guys. Against Leeds, we were very lucky to beat them 4-3. Great Leeds performance. But your boys have had a bit of a rocky last couple of weeks, I think, Matt. Has the gloss sort of gone off a little bit?
I don't know. It's like you say, it's been back-to-back 4-1 defeats, and I think it's like the 3rd or 4th time we've let 4 in, which you can't do. You just can't do at any level. Never mind Premier League. I mean, the 4-1 against Leicester flattered Leicester, I think, but the Leicester still deserved to win, and we were just absolutely appalling against Crystal Palace. It's like I don't know what the hell went on there. Just absolute dog turd, but. Yeah, the game against your boys on opening day of season, I got it up on telly, and I said to my missus, I went, I'd take a 3-0 loss here. If someone offered me a 3-0 defeat now, I'd go, yeah, take it. And then they come out. I mean, you were still, obviously, there were a lot of times where it were the old seat of your pants, wasn't it?
Oh, it was like that, yeah. It was a classic school ground type game. In fairness, Leeds, I mean, your finishing was amazing. Bamford looked very strong. I thought the lad on the left wing there, I can't think of his name now, but say that again to me.
Jack Harrison.
Yeah, he scored a great goal. Looked very, very strong through the game. So it didn't massively surprise me that Leeds turned up for the first game back in the Premier League after 16 years. I expected to get a really tough battle. But the fact that I guess you conceded the 4 goals there, and you've done it on a couple of other occasions, you know, they do say that in the Premier League, you've got to be able to keep them out if you can. But all of that said, you've got 10 points. You know, third from bottom has 3 or 4 points. So I can't see Leeds being overly troubled by relegation, I have to say. But you need to just keep the spirits up if you can and continue to rack up points.
Yeah, I think after that performance against Liverpool and, you know, a couple of other games where, like, obviously we drew with Man City as well, won a bit.
Yeah.
And then Villa were flying when we beat them. Everyone's talking, oh, look, we can challenge for Europe, but it's like we've played 6 games at that point, you know.
Yeah.
But I think, again, I'd like to see us top half, but it's a long season and we have got a pretty small squad. And I think if you finish table now where we were 15th, I won't be unhappy. You know, get that season in Premier League. Hopefully, get fans back in ground, because I think that'd be a big difference, especially with us home games. You always get a big, bit of a crazy big crowd.
Do you think they're going to, open stadiums up partway through the season, or do you think they'll see it through now that, well, okay, we've started like this, so we might all add a few in, but we're not going to get anything like full, capacity stadiums this season, are we? Surely not.
I think, I think they'll just see season out, to be honest. Because even though this vaccine is doing rounds, we're not going to really see effects of it until middle of next year, because one, because of the amount of vaccines are going to need and how it's going to be distributed, and then it's actually, it's got to actually start working in population, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And I pay for mine and my two boys' season tickets, and they've not even offered any sort of refund or out for this season. They've basically just obviously taken money, because the initial plan, what they were working towards, were being open between 25 and 30% capacity, no away fans, and then and this is the guarantee the Leeds were going to guarantee you 4 games that you'd definitely be able to go to, and then the other tickets would be done by like a little raffle essentially. But there's just been no communication on that front. They're just basically plodding on, and I think their head isn't dark as we are, to be honest.
Wow.
But I think it's not the same watching it on telly. It's not the same watching it on telly. It's definitely not the same watching it on telly with no fans. It's just it's a weird situation.
I'd be gutted if I was a season ticket holder at Leeds, as I know you are with the lads, to see them back in the Premier League and then to potentially go through the season without being able to get in and see some of those games. That is really tough after 16 years. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, third game at home, Man City, and we don't get to see it. And my eldest lad's like, "Oh, we'll see Aguero, we'll see De Bruyne and all this lot." And it's like, "Well, you will, I'm telling you, mate." I thought you were going to say the thing that you're not allowed to say is that Leeds go up, don't get to see a game, and then they go straight back down again.
Well, I hope they don't. I mean, it could happen, and that would be horrific. I don't think they will. I really don't. But
I think there's worse teams than us in this division.
Yeah, I think a big telltale sign will be the as we see Hearts not reaching it. Will be the way that Bielsa is viewed post the heavy Christmas period, right? So if Leeds are in trouble post Christmas, and people start to get negative about Bielsa, I think that could be this sort of rocky situation that might be a danger for you. I think if everybody stays behind Bielsa, even through a rocky period, then I think you stand a much better chance of just being stable through the season. I think that's very, very important, your first season back. Yeah,
well, we've got the next 3 games is Arsenal at home, Everton away, and Chelsea away, so it's not exactly an easy run. But the thing I don't think it's people losing patience with Bielsa. I think the only danger on that front would be Bielsa losing patience with us.
Yeah, well, that's part of it, right? Because he's South American and passionate and all of that.
Yeah, he could basically be up for armed robbery, and Leeds fans would still love him and find a way to find that it was somebody else's fault. They're not going to get on his back anytime soon, I wouldn't have thought. But it all depends if he just gets fed up with it, because he doesn't stay with teams for very long. And when he wants to go, he just goes, right, I'm off.
Yeah. There'd be no shortage of takers for him either, I guess, after what he's done with Leeds.
Yeah, there were a lot of rumours before that Man United were looking at him and things like that, but from reading articles about him and seeing interviews about him, he basically chooses his team. He has to, before he took the Leeds job, he researched us all, and he knew everything about all us players, what people's jobs did. He came and visited and spent time at Yorkshire coasts and walked around city centre to get a feel for people. And if he don't like the place or don't feel nothing resonates with him, he just don't bother.
Yeah.
So I don't think I wouldn't imagine he'd take another job after this. I think we'll get this season out of him, and he'll probably just disappear into wherever football gods live.
Yeah, I think
that's a cooler of a hand up top.
Yeah. Oh,
we're going to lose Joe, 6th place, but silver lining there for Joe is I'm pretty certain that ABCD cannot be caught at the top of squads, so it's going to be theirs, because even if Dylan and Andy Kingham finished 1-2 for Purple Ackies, Joe has secured enough points for her team tonight to mean they can't be caught.
Good job, Joe.
So that's well done to them. So still up for grabs for who's going to finish second. As I say, the Purple Ackies guys are very much in the mix, as potentially is Celtic Storm, if they can. Let's see. Yeah, if good finish for Brian means they'll probably overtake Eat My Stack as well. So Brian's still playing to outdo Eat My Stack, who are currently in second. As far as the MVP goes, Tom Clark has got that, but obviously Tom's also in ABCD. So the prize for MVP is going to go to the second place person. So are you ready for the sob story, Des? Here we go.
Go for it.
Okay. Currently, Des, the second best player at the moment is Gareth Howard. Gaz to his friends.
Lovely.
Yeah. However, Gaz can be caught, Des. Gaz can be caught. Corey Roseby and Brian Frew and Dylan Herbert all on this final table with a win can overtake Gaz and mean Gaz will basically leave with just his bus fare home for another week.
Oh dear.
BFH, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not liking Gaz's chances here, I have to say.
Here's what you
the
could have won,
field.
Gaz.
Yeah, Gaz is always the bridesmaid, never the bride, as they say. Yeah, it's
I tell you quietly though, if you're in Celtic Storm or if you're in the Ackies and you're thinking, these guys over at ABCD, they just turned up for this week and they just won it at a canter.
Yeah, we haven't seen them for a few weeks. We had Joe on
That's
the
like
show
an insult, right?
a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? Yeah,
We
so
did,
Joe
yeah. Joe's
came on the
always
show
good in
for
the
a
show.
couple of weeks ago. And I don't know whether the guys have decided because it's lockdown, so whether that means a few of them have got a bit more time or what. I'm not quite sure the reasons why, but they decided to get back playing again, so which is always nice. So we'll see how that plays out. But you've got to be happy though, Matt, as it's getting to it. And I think it was the right decision also to ditch the old pay-per-view nonsense and just get the games back on the TV for people to watch. I think that makes a lot more sense as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think if they were going to go down that route, which I think they probably ultimately will do at some point, 15 quid's far too much. Probably, especially when people are paying, extortionate fees for Sky in first place, and I think charging someone a fiver would be still a bit cheeky, but people are more likely to sling a fiver in than they are, 15 quid, especially in current climate as well. But I think what the powers that be have looked at it and gone, oh, average Joe who takes his kids at football is probably saving 200-300 quid a pop here by, especially something like if you go to somewhere like Chelsea where it can be like 100 quid a ticket. They're trying to just cash in on them guys who are sat at home, which is
that's what they've done, isn't it? You can imagine how they've worked it out. They've gone, right, well, we're giving them a load of their season ticket money back, or in whatever form or whatever they're choosing to do. They're not spending money on travel or what they spend on a match day anyway. So yeah, they've come up with a figure, haven't they? And I think very quickly the fans just pushed back on that and said, "No, that's not going to work." What's nice to see is they've raised over 300,000 for charity, with fans just saying, "Well, no, you're not having my $14.95, but I'm gonna give it here instead."
Yeah, Newcastle did a lot, didn't they? And then Leeds jumped on the same thing. I think it might have been Villa game. I'm not sure.
I mean, I'd imagine every one of those fans probably just went and watched it on an illegal stream anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, it's the thought that counts, like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Leeds ones raised like 70 or 80,000 pounds.
That's brilliant. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's really, really good. I see Rashford's been getting a load of stick in the last. Was it today? In the papers, I think one of the papers ran a story about the amount of property he's got or something, and decided to give a little bit back, and it's like, wow, is that really the world we live in?
I know it's mad, isn't it? Well, it's typical British press, isn't it? They build someone up as a hero and then rip them to shreds 5 minutes later.
They did it to Sterling, didn't they, as well?
They've done it throughout time, haven't they? Gazza and everything he did wrong got thing. Anyone who's actually half decent or tries to be a decent human being, they'll dig some dirt up where, one day Rashford kicked a dog by accident or something, and all of a sudden he's like, devil incarnate. But Yeah, he's done super well for himself, and at the end of the day, he doesn't have to go campaigning for these, for less fortunate kids and things like that. You know, and I'm pretty sure he does a lot more. It seems like the guy who probably would give a lot of his, or give at least some of his time and attention to other charities and things like that. And there'll be all these people sat there slagging him off who wouldn't even give, put 10p in a busker's cup. And they're all saying
the problem is when you've got a footballer that's earning hundreds of thousands of pounds a week, it's a very easy response back to say, well, why don't you give 90% of your money because you don't you don't need it, and that isn't really kind of the argument, is it? Really, it's not about them. I mean, you could turn around and go, well, there are billionaires out there that are just sat with billions in the bank. Well, if they actually gave up 90% of all their money and actually put it back into where it could be used, that would solve things short term. But we'd all be back here in the same cycle again somewhere down the line, wouldn't we? It doesn't ever seem to go away.
I have a question. Lewis Hamilton, God bless his cotton socks, won his 7th Drivers' World Championship today in Formula One, equaling Schumacher's record. But in doing so, he's had 94 wins versus Schumacher's 91. He's had 26 or 27 more poles than Schumacher did in his career. So his level of performance has been significantly higher than Schumacher in that time. But yet he doesn't seem to get any love from anyone in Britain. Why do we think this is? Obviously, Formula One is a global sport. It's a big sport. The money involved is insane. There might have been arguments that he's always had the best machinery, but you could argue that he's earned his way into that machinery. How come he doesn't seem to get a look in?
I did love one of the things that was on TalkSport earlier on in the week where they were saying somebody had come out, one of the drivers had come out and said, well, 95% of the drivers would win as much as Hamilton does in his car. And they said, well, who's the 5% then? And they said, well, that must be Bottas then.
Very good.
Which I thought
very
was
good.
absolute genius.
It's very, very true. Yeah, and I think it's a very fair view. But the reality is Hamilton's in that car because he was the best in McLaren. He was the most exciting young driver. He was that because he was the best in karting. And over X number of seasons, he just hasn't made any mistakes. He's been consistently, as close to perfect as you can be. Works hard, incredibly fit. He's been a good ambassador for the sport. But he just doesn't seem to get any recognition. I don't know if that's the right word, but the way we look at our football stars and stuff like that, he just doesn't get to. He doesn't seem to get any of that sort of recognition, really.
He's got the best car, but he is the best driver as well. He's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's basically like having one at top two, like Feder Holes or something like that, running well in a poker tournament. It's a deadly combination that they're going to win more often than they're not going to win. I don't know. I don't think people like, sometimes it comes across as a bit of an arrogant so and so. In certain not when he's winning his race, but like away from it in interviews he's done. He just done. I don't think he endears himself to public very well. But I think that these days the racing drivers in Formula One, I mean, his base salary is 40 million quid a year.
That's right.
So he's not in touch with with normal life. But then he makes comments about taxation and stuff. But he lives in Monaco, and then he has his double standard stuff where they were wearing the Black Lives Matter chain around his neck and things. But then he's sponsored by Hugo Boss and Mercedes, who were two of the biggest things who've done horrific things over the years. So it's one of those, I think, where he tries. I don't think he's a bad person. I just think he's probably badly managed. Plus, doesn't he go out with that bloody? Doesn't he go out? Is it Kardashian he goes out with? Or is
he was
it
out with Nicole Scherzinger?
Oh, that's
for quite a while.
That annoying one from.
But she
Britain's
seemed
Got
all right,
Talent,
though,
or whatever.
didn't she? Didn't she seem all right? I didn't see anything wrong.
I just think she's just very. It's like them all who are in line. Like it's just quite fake, aren't they? It's like.
But here's the thing, right? That's not too different to footballers. They all have wags to a degree. They all earn a an obscene amount of money. Very few of them, do anything good with it. We're talking about Rashford. Rashford is an exception. Fair play to him. They regularly do the nightclubs and the music scene, and they're seen at the big, events and stuff like that.
Wow.
Oh, hello. Oh my word!
Oh, quads!
It's going
that's a
all
time
the way.
to get quad fours. That is a time to get quad fours.
Wow.
Quadzilla on the
Very
horizon.
unlucky to Brian there.
Wow, unlucky
got
Brian.
It all in pre.
Nice hand, Andy.
10s for Brian, 4s for Andy, and that's that's the outcome. Wow.
Wow. Well, there we go, guys. So
We do see quads quite a lot on these final tables on a Sunday night, Des.
it's rigged. It's rigged. It's rigged.
Yeah. Did you
Actually-
did you pull the lever far
I've got
enough?
a lever here.
Yeah,
I've got a lever here.
yeah.
I have. Yeah.
It might just be you've had too much to drink and you're seeing double. It might just be too, might just be too fair.
Hold on. Let me just turn on the audience applause. There we go. They like the lever.
Nice.
See, we just turn people on and off here. It's fantastic. Fantastic. But my favorite tune of the night is this. Oh, it's brilliant.
So we have got so we've got a bit of a situation going. So Andy Kingan, so four-handed here now. Andy with a win will definitely put Purple Ackies into second place in the Poker Squad's leaderboard, so they'll pick up a bit of added value for that. And obviously Corey and Brian through. I think Corey with a top 2 finish. I think Brian would need to win it. Both could overtake Gaz for the added value for the MVP as well, although Tom's obviously won that. So we've got a few little scenarios playing out here. Margaret, I can't say anything other than well done, Margaret. You go and win it and win the top prize. That's
Do
all
we
I can
know
say.
Margaret Lee? I can't say that I've recognised her name tonight. She's a UK player, obviously. Has she been in your database or?
Not that I know. I'm just double
Having a
checking
wee
now.
look?
The database has got pretty big, Des.
Yeah, I
I
know.
don't, we're
It's a good problem to have, Lee.
it's a great problem to have, but we're up to something like I think we're creeping close to 27,000 entries in Poker Squads since lockdown, which is
I've just looked her up on Facebook, and she's appeared in some of your updates in April and May.
Oh, there you
yeah.
go.
So she's played. This is the 49th Squads game. So I think she might have played earlier on in the. She might have played earlier on in the. I've not seen her for a little while, but great to see her back playing. Anyway, that's for
well
sure.
done. You're all done for finally. Let's hope you can
10
win.
big blinds and a dream, eh?
Yeah.
That's all you need, isn't it? Hey, that's all you need.
Hey, 10 big blinds. I count that as being deep stacked.
Yeah. Well, Brian's all in. I'm being called by Andy Kingan. Brian just needs to avoid.
Oh, this is. I thought we were going to do it then. I thought that club work.
And that's
If it'd been 10 at clubs, that'd have been nasty.
Yeah, it would have been horrible, wouldn't it? It's so double up for Brian.
Guys, we lost the wonderful Ray Clements today. Yeah, Ray Clements. He was my goalie at Liverpool when I first started supporting the Reds. He was. I saw Liverpool play for the first time in 1980 in terms of attending a match, and Clements was in goal. That was his last season with Liverpool, but of course, had supported them for several years before. Oof.
Double up for
Jack's
Margaret.
going to take
Excellent. Yeah, and they're kind of leveling out on chips here now.
But sad to see one of the greats go.
Yeah, I was surprised that I read that he'd been diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer in 2005. So he's fought it off
well, hasn't he? Yeah,
15-year fighting the bloody thing.
Yeah,
it's a shame because a lot of people preferred him over Shilton, but Shilton basically got the number 1 jersey most of the time, didn't he?
Yeah, I think Shilton played did he get the most number of? Certainly
Yeah,
at the time he had the most number of caps for an England player. But even so, Ray Clements still got 60 caps. So there was a period.
That number surprised me because
It's stunning,
always,
isn't it? Yeah.
In the back of my mind, I always kind of assumed, Clements would have got so many more England caps if it hadn't have been for Shilton. Bearing in mind, Shilton got
150,
125.
125.
Yeah, and you think so, but then you actually look and go, well, Clements got 61 or 62 or something like that, 60 odd. and you think, well, wow,
Yeah.
because I just assumed they were about at the same time, but I suppose Clements picked his England caps. When was he? From 72 to 83. So Shilton was probably was during the 80s, or was he or was he late 70s?
Oh no, they were pretty much at the same time. They were pretty much at the same time throughout the whole period, because Clements went from Liverpool to Spurs. Clements would have joined Liverpool. I'm going to say 75, something like that.
Actually, yeah, you're right. Shilton
74.
won his first England cap in 1970.
Well, there you go.
To 1990. So basically, between 1970 and 1990, the two of them pretty much played with the two England goalkeepers. So they between them, that's 180 odd matches between the two of them in 20 years.
And I'm not sure whether it was 78 or 79, but Clements had a season with Liverpool where he conceded 16 goals in 42 league matches, 4 of them at home. I mean, obviously a strong team at that time, but wow, 4 goals at home across a 21 match season. It's incredible.
That's nuts, isn't it?
Glory days.
Also with Clements is also how much he actually did coaching afterwards, behind the scenes, which
with England for a long time.
Yeah, just quietly went about his his business, helping where he could. I think it's very, very sad.
There's been a few of them that we've lost over the last couple of years. Haven't we?
Yeah.
Leeds lost Norman Hunter, who is before our times, but
Johnny Giles as well. Not Johnny Giles, but Jack Charlton rather.
yeah, Big Jack, yeah.
Big Jack, which I had a lot of time and affinity for Big Jack.
Yeah, I think he had dementia as well, didn't he? I think that had started creeping in.
And Bobby Charlton has come out. So his Mrs. Bobby Charlton has confided that Bobby has dementia as well.
Yeah,
so it's very sad. Very
early
sad.
signs, yeah. So Vince is saying Joe Corrigan was a good number 3 as well.
Oh, he was Man City. He was a very decent goalie. Big Joe.
Yeah, I mean he played. Just looking him up now, played nearly 500 times for Man City between 67 and 83. Got 9 caps for England between 76 and 82. So all around that time, isn't it? 70s and 80s. So.
But if you were a goalie, during that 2.5 decade period when Shilton and Clements were doing the business, it's like you just didn't get a chance with England. Although Joe got a few caps, but it wouldn't have been too many. And if you were the number 4, well, forget about it, I guess.
It's interesting. Compare it to now, where they say England have got an abundance of quality goalkeepers, and it's like, well, but no one seems to ever hold the jersey down for more than 2 or 3 years.
I think you've got
somebody else is considered to be the next, the flavour of the month.
Yeah, I think you've got an abundance of shit goalkeepers. More to the point, I say that kindly, but I don't quite understand why we think this is a good time for England and goalies. I don't think it is. I think it's a good time for England and outfield players. You've got, I think, real potential to have a very strong Euros next summer, all being well. But I think from a goalie point of view, quite why, Mr. Pickford has been your number 1 for the last 2 or 3 years is absolutely beyond me.
What was the final score tonight?
2-0, I think.
Oh, it stayed at 2. Okay.
It stayed at 2.
I don't know what Southgate's tactics are recently, though. It's like he plays like 8-1-1 or so much ridiculous.
He seems to be trying so many players, which is the weird thing. If you said to him now, right, what's your final, your 23, squad of 23 for next summer, I'm not sure whether at the moment he'd definitely be able to say.
I don't think he could tell you who he's, apart from Harry Kane, who we'd actually pick for first 11 ever. It's.
I think one of the challenges, one of the real challenges that he has is that he apparently doesn't think he has a centre-back pairing that are secure enough to go to the Euros with. So for that reason, he's continually putting 3 centre-backs in there, which, arguably is just loading the team. You've got a very talented forward offensive team there, but he's slightly loading it with more defensive players to allow the wing-backs to go forward and stuff like that. So it could come good. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if England won it next summer, but I wouldn't want to have Jordan Pickford in goal.
Do we know what they're doing at the moment? Are they still doing the same plan as it was going to be last year, where it's in all the different cities? And
no,
is that still the plan?
Well, no change to my knowledge, but there's all sorts of speculation that
because
it could
obviously,
go to
if there's no fans, that seems a bit of a pointless exercise. They'd be better off surely keeping everybody in a close knit sort of space.
So that's a problem, right? They've sold a lot of tickets. We all know that, and the tickets have been expensive, so the revenue generation has been enormous. And UEFA have always liked a bit of revenue generation. It just makes it easier to take a bit of a whatever. But the problem is nobody quite knows what we're going to face next summer, right? Whether the stadiums will be open or not.
It's a tricky one.
It is a tricky one.
We're seeing some sports bringing fans back.
Yeah, and to be honest,
seems to be kind of a steady flow is happening. I don't quite understand the reluctance to even allow Premier League clubs to start bringing. So I think there was an article a little while ago that Man United had come out and said, well, they've already got Old Trafford workable at something like 27,000, like a third capacity or something like that.
You'd assume that you could go to 30%.
They've got the plan. It's all there, ready to go. They don't see an issue with it at all. But it's a no.
Yeah, I think a lot of it will be because you'll get people who go, I can't have 4 people in my garden, but you can get 30,000 people down at Old Trafford or at Anfield. So if they can do it, why can't we have, anti-flow around to put in
Sorry, mate. How big's your garden? So listen, Asa, gentlemen, Asa is in the and Vince. Let's get some of these comments in. So Vince mentioned Joe Corrigan, of course. He also goes on to say Bobby Robson chose Shilton. Greenwood had shared the number 1 shirt. That's a very, very good point. And you can't blame Bobby Robson, who took England to a semi-final of the 1990 World Cup in Italy. So Bobby chose Shilton. Asa says no real attacking subs on the last 15 minutes, just stank of we aren't going to win here. So that must have been this evening's game against Belgium, which I didn't see. And Asa goes on to say there was an article on the BBC website today mentioning that it may well all be held in England. And I'd heard similar. So I'd heard that, maybe they'll go to fewer venues. For example, the Republic of Ireland didn't qualify. So do you really need to, have it going on in Dublin? As an example. So I'd heard it might go to fewer venues, and then I'd also heard that maybe it gets pitched to go to England, and I'd love that because it just doesn't feel the same to me to have it going on in so many different countries.
If there's not going to be fans, then it does make a lot of sense. As they did. I mean, I actually thought the end to last season's Champions League and Europa League worked really, really well. I thought it was fantastic. A two-week thing, 8 teams left, 2 weeks, and you play it through. I'd actually, think it'd be a great end to the season. Just whilst we've got Brian all in and Andy's made the call.
Here we go. It's
King
a race.
10 versus 8, and
There's
Brian's his king.
Oh, 1 pip away.
It's going to get the double up. Yeah. Going to get the double up. Yeah, but I quite enjoyed that. I thought it had a nice feel about it, and if that's what it's going to need to be in lockdown, and what they offer in the way of content is a little bit different. You can be more involved in what's going on in the camps for each team and that kind of thing, and they're all within their kind of bubbles, that sort of thing. I don't see it as being a bad way to go, but you might just as well do it all in one location. I
tell you what, if FIFA ever get this World Club Cup off the ground, and they'd been talking about really doing some. Oh, here we go again.
Andy shoves with Jack 10.
Oh, he's got options. He's hit one.
He's got there.
He's got there. Wow. I mean, obviously, nothing wrong with Andy shoving with the Jack 10, and Brian's broken up with the Kings.
Looks pretty.
And so the chips very quickly move back across the table.
But, FIFA did get this Club World Cup off the ground that they were talking about. And they were talking about extending that out to almost be a club version of the World Cup. I could see that being really interesting, Lee. Maybe a bit nervous about changing the Champions League format, because that's the way, it's been for quite a while. But a FIFA Club World Cup run off along the lines of an actual World Cup, I think could be really interesting. Maybe once every, 4 years or something. I think that could be cool. And Don Logan, thank you, Don, just corrects me in the chat box. Shankly signed Clements in 1967. I can't believe it was that long ago. I cannot believe it. That's incredible. Signed him from Scunthorpe, if I'm not mistaken. The great Bill Shankly, 1967. Crikey.
I wasn't even a twinkle in my dad's eye.
Ah, no, me neither, mate. Me neither. 67.
For sure, I did. It was from Skegness, Ray Clements.
Yeah, Clements was from Skegness. I think he played for Scunthorpe. And what a buy. What a buy he was.
He did, yes. He made 48 appearances for Scunthorpe before moving, so 2 years with Scunthorpe and then moved to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Wow. What do you think he'd be worth in today's game if you could put a price on him?
Well, I mean...
He'd be up there with elite, wouldn't he?
Well, Liverpool's current goalie was brought in for, what, 65 million? Something like that? Allison?
It's very difficult to compare with that because Chelsea paid 70 million for Kepa, which kind of makes the whole thing a bit farcical.
But the only thing is, the only thing is, Clements was a performer, right? He was just an amazing goalie in a great team. So
would Clements have come off in a cup final if he was asked to be substituted?
I suspect he probably would have. I suspect so. But I doubt he'd have been substituted, though. That I guess is the point.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Kepa needs to be taken.
It is interesting when you see these kind of things. You do say, well, what would that player be worth now and whatever? Because the prices have just gone, have gone absolutely through the roof. I mean, even if you just compare Matt, Leeds, where it is now, prices now compared to last time Leeds were in the Premier League.
Well, yeah, we broke our transfer record again, like 20 odd million quid for Rodrigo. Because I remember when obviously last time we were in Premier League, we went mental with spending, and that's obviously why the wheels completely fell off. But they were going crazy then. I remember when Newcastle paid 15 million for Shearer, and everyone was thinking, "What the hell's going on here?" And now 15 million.
And it wasn't that long ago. I mean, when Blackburn paid 3 point whatever for
Shearer.
Yeah.
I remember distinctly the day Brian Clough spent $1 million on Trevor Francis, and that seemed like a crazy sum at the time. God knows when that was. That would have been.
Corey gets a double up with the nines against King Queen of Andy Kingan. Andy had a few options there, but didn't hit.
82.
Yeah, I mean it is ridiculous. Yeah, it is ridiculous when I think that we
1979.
Was it 79? Crikey.
Became the first £1 million player following transfer from Birmingham.
Yeah, I guess that's right. Because in his first season, didn't he score that beautiful header against Malmo to win the European Cup for Forest? And, immediately paid back that transfer fee. There's some great, I'll tell you what, there's some phenomenal stories on YouTube about Clough signing players. They're just so funny. Young man. Sign for me now. Okay, boss.
It's quite scary when you look at some of it. I mean, you think how much we paid for Rio Ferdinand from your lot.
30 million, right? 30?
30 million. I think it
a lot
might
of money
be a bit
back
more
then.
than 30, but that's at the time. But obviously, when you're paying that sort of money for somebody that then has the career that they have with the club, as we're all in again, 3s versus 3-4, and he's hit his 4.
It's chaos. It's chaos here.
That's a double up for Andy. That's pretty brutal, to be honest. That was blind on blind, all in pre.
Andy Kingan, have you no shame? 3-4.
You don't. I mean, you don't mind paying 30 million for somebody like Ferdinand when you know you're going to get 12 years, kind of career out of him at his peak.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it?
Which is why what you paid for Virgil van Dijk is not.
Yeah, but the thing is this:
reasonable amount of money because you know what you're getting. Yeah.
Here's the thing: you never. So you know what you're getting, but you never quite know what you're going to get. So Kepa being a classic example. Now, in saying that, I don't know why Chelsea paid whatever they paid for him, 70 million, whatever it was. I don't know why they paid that much for him, but they must have thought he was worth it. But obviously, they got an absolute lemon. As it transpires. You could have signed.
Again. Ace Jack versus King Queen, and Andy's hit his king. Oh dear, Corey. I don't know what to say.
Corey.
Down to 0.4 big blinds.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal. You've yeah, been beaten up there by Mr. Kingan completely.
Oh, here we go.
This is where he'll hold now with his Jack 5.
Oh, well, just wait for it.
And he rivers the straight for a double up. Dear.
But yeah, you know, Rio could have come in and not played at that level. Oh, here we go. Corey's getting it now.
Oh, he's hit his kings and he's hit the ace.
Yeah.
Margaret's hit the ace.
Oh, there we go.
Wow. That's not a run of luck you want when you're four-handed.
Unlucky, Corey.
You're going on. Unlucky, Corey. But it's been a good week for you, Corey. Welcome to APAT. If you are listening to the stream or listen to it back, yeah, hopefully we'll see you again in future weeks. Wow.
I'll say that if you can hear some snoring in the background, it's the dog. It's not me.
It's getting to that time of the night, isn't it? Yeah.
Proper pumping out the Z. She is.
Yeah, it is getting to that time of the night, definitely. Yeah, but you are right, Des. And you never kind of know what you're going to get, and you take these chances. But I mean, Chelsea have crikey, these two are at
look
it
at
again.
this.
A6 against A7.
Oh, the fours might help. Oh, it's a 7.
7. So that's going to be a double up for Brian. But Chelsea paid over the odds for a number of players. I mean, crikey, signing Torres from you guys.
Torres,
who then
50 million.
Absolutely who then flopped like
flopped
nothing.
Gloriously. He was like a spy sent
you know,
to Chelsea.
Flopped like Sanchez. It was just, extraordinary.
It's crazy how top players sometimes that just happens, doesn't it? Because they were good for Liverpool. They were very good for Liverpool.
Hey guys, Corey's in the chat box. He's obviously enjoyed his first week with APAT because, well, he's still here. He went, wow, couldn't have gone worse there. That is quite true, Corey. We talked you through that. A bit of a rough last 20 minutes, I would say. But good game nonetheless. Well done for getting that far.
And he had a good win in the bounty tournament earlier on in the week.
Yeah.
So,
but just
so
listen,
I'd
being beaten by
he's had
4
a
high.
profitable week, yeah.
Being beaten by 4 high when you're ahead is just one of those hands that you have to remember, right?
Yeah.
That's a Liverpool special
It does
there.
happen. Yeah, absolutely.
Simon says he must have walked under a few ladders. Quite right.
So what's the finances like at Leeds and Matt? Have you got say it? You know, you don't have the greatest end of November and December's a bit tough. I mean, is there money to spend in January if they wanted to do that? Even though you've already busted, your transfer record already.
They've said there would be. They tried to. Bielsa tries not to buy people in January because they just don't get up to his standard of fitness in time.
Yeah.
Is extremely demanding on. There's been fit and there's been Bielsa fit. He runs them absolutely ragged. But they were meant to be going. I can't remember what his. There were a guy for Udinese that we were looking to bring in for like 32 million, but they rejected that offer. He's an attacking midfielder. I can't remember his bloody name now. But we've got a couple of. We bought a defender from Sociedad. He's a Spanish centre back, and he got injured in training. His first training session, he got injured, so we've got him to come back. They just need to short defence up because that would. I think last year, because we were so attacking and we were probably a dominant force in most of games we played, it didn't matter if your defence were a little bit shaky because they never got tested.
Remind me a little bit of Norwich. Norwich came up on that sort of promise last year. They had a great season in the Championship, attacking team. But actually, just over the course of the season, they were just found out too many times. Yeah,
they didn't score enough goals either, did they?
Yeah.
Because I think that's the one thing we've got in our favour is we've got goals in the team, but they just need to cut out that because a lot of these goals that they've let in have just been absolutely awful defensive errors, individual errors, and you think, why are you doing that? A kid wouldn't do that. Never mind somebody you paid like 12 million quid for or what have you. But that's the thing about the Premier League, isn't it? That's the old cliche, they only need one chance. I mean, I know you guys got 2 penalties against us, but like Salah's volley were just incredible. I think it was. Yeah, and it's like you can't give a play like that a yard free penalty area because they will. absolutely punish you. And I think the quicker they learn that, Margaret could be gone here.
What a flop for Brian's ace 3. I think we are going to lose. We are going to lose Margaret there.
Nice hand, Brian. Unlucky, Margaret.
Very nice.
Yeah, I think the problem is with Leeds. They always joke about Bielsa not having a plan B because his plan B is do plan A a bit better. That's so we do run the risk of. I think we will get smashed by quite a few at teams, but I also think we're better than a lot of teams that are in this division. I mean, I hope Cat's not listening, but we're better than Burnley. You know,
yeah.
You know, the people like Burnley, Sheffield United look like they've been completely found out. Or last year were a flashing pan, and West Brom looked pretty poor as well. I think Fulham will struggle. Brighton will probably struggle as well. I'm just glad that Man United have been absolutely crap this season as well. That gives me more enjoyment.
I still think where you can't underestimate a Burnley and a Sheffield United is during that December-January programme where the FA Cup comes in and you're going to end up playing 9 games in December. You'll have 8 or 9 in January. Everything just gets a bit heavier, colder, wetter. And that's when promoted teams generally start to get found out. And I think the likes of Burnley and Sheffield United, because they've been through that so many times, they stand a slightly better probability of being able to grind it out then. But we'll see. I mean, the pitches are so good these days that winter doesn't have to feel entirely like winter. As long as Leeds continue to score goals, they should be okay. I think they'll be okay. Yeah,
like I said, I think if we finish 13th, 14th, it would be a very good season. I said at the beginning of the season, I'd take 17th all day long. Stay up and take it from there. Then, but it's a weird season anyway. Southampton going top at table and things, isn't it?
Look at Villa.
I know. It's just a strange old season.
Yeah, so if you can get that one season under your belt, spend wisely next summer, then I think you start thinking about, right, can we break into the top 10? Can we maybe squeak into the top 6? That would be happy days, right? But I think this season it should all be about just stabilise, stay there.
Yeah, it's consolidation, isn't it?
Consolidate, yeah.
And I think the problem is, I think a lot of people want, you get ideas above your station. Well, you know what? Football fans are fickle anyway, You get two wins in a row and it's like, we're going to be champions of Europe. Lose 2 in a row and it's like, relegation fodder. Sack them all.
Absolutely.
So just to give a quick update on the squads, because we have got something playing for here, because basically Andy's playing for Purple Ackies and Brian's playing for Celtic Storm. Whichever one of them wins this will put the team in second place for the week. And that is going to be Andy now in a significant lead. The other bit to add to that was if Brian wins this as well, he would also finish second in the MVP. So there's added value up for grabs for both these guys, whichever one of them takes this down. Obviously, Andy has now got a significant, 4-1, nearly 5.
Just get it in with 4 high, you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is a weird season though, as you say, Matt. I mean, you say. The funny thing is, United, we've been awful. We have been awful. Yet we've got some results. And actually, if we win our game in hand, we're like 3 points off 4th place.
Yeah, it's great. I've got table up now.
Yeah, which seems crazy.
You go straight up to 7th from 14th.
Yeah, I mean, it's apart from the bottom 3 or 4 teams, 5 teams, I'd say. From you, Leeds in 15th up. There's 8 points covers 15th to 1st. There's 5 points that covers 15th to 5th. It is a crazy season.
I think Leicester look pretty good they've got back to the counter attacking that wouldn't league. They were very clinical against us.
Well, this night next week we have them at Anfield, so it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. We don't have a defence, and I think they're struggling in defence as well. I think they lost a few players. So
they had a complete makeshift defence when we played them, and. They just soaked pressure up, and Vardy's just a freak. It's like he's in his. He must be 33 now or something, wasn't he? Or something like that, and he hasn't lost any of his pace.
Yeah,
he's just lightning quick.
And they've got a lot of young attacking players around him as well now, and they just seem to be hitting well. Doesn't matter who's in. Maddison comes back in and looks absolute quality again. Tielemans seems to have finally kind of settled in. And,
he were very good against
goals.
us.
Yeah.
I tell you, Ace is saying in the chat box, Grealish apparently excellent for England tonight. I thought he was excellent when Villa hammered Liverpool. He's a player that is delivering. He seems to be delivering at the moment. Somebody's going to snap him up big time next summer, I would have thought.
Yeah, he'll go.
Call A6 for Brian against the 7s of Andy Kingan. And,
that's it.
3.
It's going to double.
3 or an 8. And it's
no,
not
that's
there.
it. That's
and
the whole
all
time.
over.
That will be it. That's going to be a win for Andy. So Andy picks up $106 for his efforts tonight. Brian Frew finishes in second for 73. Well done to Margaret as well in third place, picking up $50. Very well done to you. I'll quickly wrap up where we were for the squads. As we called earlier on that Tom Clark was top of the MVP, couldn't get caught, had 2 extremely good performances this week on Monday and Saturday. So very well done to him. Would you believe it? Gaz Howard only clings on to second place by 5
Good
points.
That's
So Gaz will be getting some added value. I know it's not quite top of the leaderboard, Gaz, but it's added value all the same. So very well done to you for hanging on there. As we mentioned, APCD couldn't get, well, they could have got caught, but actually they did enough tonight with Joe final tabling, so very well done. And Andy's performance there pushed Purple Ackies up into second place. They overtake Celtic Storm and Eat My Stack for game week 32, Des. That's a wrap then.
Fantastic. What a night. So a big final well done to Matt Ogilvie as well, who took the roller earlier on. So Matt, Andy for winning the Deep Stack APCD. What a return. So it'll be interesting to see whether the guys show up again next week, and for Tom on winning MVP. Thanks to all of you guys out there for listening in to us, for playing tonight, for playing through the week. Lee and myself are back next Sunday night, of course, with another APAT show. I think we've got John Young on, Lee,
We do.
which
Yes,
I think
we
should
do,
be
yes.
interesting. But the biggest thanks of the night from Lee and myself is to Matt for coming back again, spending the night with us, proving that you are indeed Super Matt. It's been lovely, chatting with you, Matt. The time just flies by, I have to say. Hope you have a great next week. And I'm sort of thinking that's it from us.
Seems like, it's been good fun. Thank you very much.
Lovely stuff. Okay, guys, we'll have a great next week, as I said, and we look forward to chatting with you again next weekend. So that's a wrap, guys. Ciao.